All right, we're live. That's it. You don't have to do it, Chris. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Kirik, Chris, what's going on, guys? Are you paying attention? What are you doing? Hello, Chris.
Yeah, I'm good.
What are you doing?
Man.
Checking your email? We're alive. There's 1 million people.
All right.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I'm good.
Let me see my Facebook. Oh, I got a like on that picture.
I get one here. And
You guys are the owners of my favorite all-time website for mixed martial arts. It's changed names 3 or 4 times since I've been a member. Submissionfighting.com back in the day, right? What was the original?
The original, well, I grabbed a bunch of URLs before the sport really had a name. That would have been 95-ish or so. One of the ones we grabbed was submissionfighting.com. I asked the guys at the gym out of submissionfighting.com, mixedmartialarts.com, and a few other ones what they liked. They said submissionfighting.com. So we ran with that for a few years. But I would get outraged emails from people saying this is not what I was expecting. And what they wanted was one of those sort of porno apartment wrestling kind of sites. And then my mother said she would tell her friends what I was up to, and they'd say, what's the URL? And she'd say submissionfighting.com, and she'd get long looks from them. So after my mother started complaining, I changed it to mixedmartialarts.com. Then the UFC switched to UFC TV, so we became MMA TV. And then the UFC dropped the TV, so we went back to mixedmartialarts.com. That's where we are forever. Although somebody offered us they didn't complete 600 grand for mixedmartialarts.com, and we would have dropped it in a heartbeat for that and gone back to MMA TV.
Why didn't you take it?
We did take it. They didn't come through with the money.
Changed.
Yeah, I was
Jesus
like,
Christ.
it's all yours.
600 grand?
$600,000.
That's insane. Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Didn't business.com go for like $7 million or something crazy like that? Yeah, what the fuck, man? That's a lot of goddamn scratch.
The one that kills me, though, is I turned down MMA.com for $200 at the time because the sport really wasn't mixedmartialarts.com. And so people called it that, but MMA wasn't really a thing yet. It was the Maine Mall Association, and they had let it lapse. And for $200, I could have grabbed it. And I'm like, $200, it's a lot of money.
What year was this?
It's 99 maybe, 98, 99, 97, somewhere in there.
Do you remember what year it became called mixed martial arts?
oh, the whole sport?
I would date that to when everybody got together, when Nick Lembo got everybody together in New Jersey and came up with the unified rules, which would have been 2000-ish. And that's when the name sort of started to stick.
But they were calling it that. Did Big John McCarthy name it?
I have heard a variety of explanations for where the name came from, and I honestly don't know. I don't think there's anyone that's definitive.
I'm pretty sure I heard Big John say that he named it. It was either him or it was Jeff Blatnick.
I've heard Jeff say it, yeah. More than once, Jeff has said that he coined the term. I'm going to have to ask Big John because he's up at San Diego with us, so we get back on to see if he claims that.
What is going on in San Diego?
Kirik and myself are up there for a convention. It's the Association of Athletic Commissions. It's a blast. It's all the athletic commissions in the country come together for a year and drink and just pretty much talk to each other about the issues that are going on in their ACs, and they try to...
Well, obviously not for a year. How long does it go for?
No, sorry, they come together every year.
Once a year.
Yes.
Okay.
It's like a week event for them.
And they just go over rules and shit like that?
It sounds a little... There's a huge amount of socializing, and it sounds a little... That's trivializing it. The thing is, the Association of Boxing Commissions was formed by a federal law, the Muhammad Ali Act, but that law has no teeth. There's no penalties if you don't pay any attention to suspensions, and nothing happens. So the whole association is basically built on goodwill. So there's an awful lot of just people getting to know each other and having a beer, and Chris often acts as a bartender and gets to know people that way. And it sounds like it's a little trivial just to get to know people, but it's actually the glue that holds the whole ABC together. So
that's how it holds together. Like, say, if somebody gets banned in, say, Mississippi, they keep them banned in Massachusetts, things along those lines.
That's it, exactly. The Muhammad Ali Act says that federal law requires that boxing commissions share suspension information. So you can't get knocked out in Boston and then the next weekend go up to New Hampshire and get knocked out again, and then go to Maine and get knocked out again.
Which used to be a real problem.
Oh, yeah, it still is a real problem in places like Mexico. Mexico doesn't hand out suspension, so guys just literally will, because they're poor.
Right.
They'll get knocked out every weekend. And their opponent, the way MMA is built on fair fights from the beginning, but boxing is built on tomato cans. And so there's a huge market for fighters that just lose. and they get knocked out all the time in Mexico.
Right, like that guy that fought Mickey Rourke in Russia. He has this insane losing record.
And he's homeless somewhere around here, actually.
Yeah,
kind of
Pasadena.
guy who lives in the streets, and his job is basically to show up and get knocked unconscious.
And didn't even do a good job of it. That was bizarre. It's bizarre that those things still happen. Like, did you see the one in Mexico? The politician that has the fake muscles?
The guy with a huge chest. Yeah, that was absolutely
Have you
bizarre.
seen it, Chris?
No, I don't think I've seen it.
You need to see it. We'll play
It's
it
a
for
boxing
you.
match.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I'll have
You
to
can
watch
kind
it.
of call it a boxing match. It's a guy who has synthol injected into his arms and chest
Jesus.
and his shoulders. You know that synthol stuff? If you don't know, people are listening to this. Synthol is something that I guess bodybuilders created it because, like, if they had a body part that wasn't sticking out enough, that, like, wasn't symmetrical, like, say, some guys, their calves don't grow very well, so they would have these big upper body, these big leg, but their calves would be skinny. So they would inject this oil into their calves, and it makes your muscles swell up. But they're like fake boobs. They jiggle when you move. So this guy has it all over his body. He has it on his shoulders. He has it on his chest. He has it on his arms. And because of that, first of all, his arms are heavy. It's like he's punching with like 10-pound gloves, and the other guy has 8-ounce gloves. And this guy is known for having fake fights. Apparently, he has like 11 fake fights on his record, and he's a senator in Mexico, and he comes from a wealthy family. The guy on the left, massive plastic surgery all over his face. His whole face looks like a fucking kabuki mask. But look, his whole body is like fake. And if you turn it up, Jamie, so we can hear, when the crowd sees him fight, they start laughing, like really loud. Like, give us some volume here.
11 wins, no defeat, all by knockouts. Pero
I always fight this
Listen to
guy.
the crowd.
medyo awkward, ano?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can hear the laugh.
10 years. Oh.
I mean, get the fuck out of here. That's like a sketch from Mad TV.
Ate Logan, si Olivas, a short left.
Short left. Nacho Beristain said Kawagi is a fraud.
Look at this. Look at the way he's throwing punches. It's literally like he's got lead all over his arms because of these goddamn synthol muscles. Like he's carrying pounds of this water stuff, this oil stuff in his body.
I would fight that guy.
The guy on the left?
Yeah, well, either one of them, I guess. But
Medyo napaka-awkward ka, no?
Awkward niya. But he's
It's
a
so
lawyer.
crazy.
He's a law graduate.
This guy's a law graduate. What do you have to do to be a law graduate in Mexico?
pay the fee. I don't know.
I mean, maybe you guys might want to suspend that guy if he's still a lawyer. But, you know, it's so crazy because Mexico is known for its great tradition of fantastic boxers. Like some of the greatest boxers of all time have come out of Mexico. It's a huge part of their culture. So to have this guy do that, this rich guy do that, is just so crazy. But that's always existed.
I believe that was done in the Philippines. I think Mexican fans would pull that guy from limb to limb if he tried it in Mexico. I'm pretty sure that was that video was shot in Mexico in the Philippines.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just Mexican fans are very, very. They're like Philly fans. They know exactly what they're looking at.
It's just interesting you said that because the guys who are talking, they sound like they have a Filipino accent. The guys who are speaking English.
I don't know the Filipino accent well at all, but I definitely would defer to you.
I play a lot of pool, and some of the Filipinos are the great pool players. Some of the best pool players ever from the Philippines. So I'm used to the Filipino accent. The website you guys started. So you've been around for 20 years now.
We started the site in '98.
So I thought you said 95.
95, I started buying the URLs. I think in
Okay.
96 we had the Art of NHB Fighting on AOL.
So if you started in 98, I was a member, I think, in 98. I think I was a member like the first year then, if not 98, 99.
No, somewhere I've got our first 400, and you're definitely on that list.
I'm one of the first 400,
First ever.
baby. Woohoo! How many members do you guys have now?
Chris?
Oh, geez. Active hundreds of thousands, probably.
Holy shit.
Probably have 500,000 accounts, but you know those people fall off here and there. But a lot.
Wow.
We have 1.3 million people that come to our site every month
That's insane.
and growing. So
And growing.
Well, it's the best forum, and it's hard to regulate, but you guys have done an amazing job of keeping the douchebags off, or at least keeping them at bay. because that's what ruins those places. It kicks off all the pro fighters. Like, so many guys used to post there and don't anymore, like Tito and a lot of other, like Evan Tanner, of course, is a famous thread that gets bumped up every now and then where Evan Tanner was saying hello before he died. And it was cool back then that, like, these guys who were fighting in the UFC would come on a regular basis, but they get run off by these just anonymous shitheads who just say the rudest, meanest shit to them after they lost or before the fight. You know, like, I've talked to bunch of fighters, like, no need to name names, but even guys like John Fitch are like, I don't go there. I got to stay off there because it fucking fucks with my head. Like, these guys are assholes.
They're pretty much all assholes. The problem is...
It's not true. They're not all.
They're not all assholes. But when we started, it was a small, tight-knit community of people that were in the sport. And then, you know, the UFC blows up, so people find us. And now it's 1 million people. And out of those 1 million people, maybe 10,000 are nice, but the rest are just anonymous douchebags.
I don't really think it's that. I think it's the opposite. I think 10,000 are cunts,
Okay.
and the rest of them are fairly nice.
But the cunts are very vocal. Like,
Yeah.
they're on there all the time, and they just speak up all the time.
Well, it's just like they can.
Yep.
I mean, that's the beautiful thing about the internet. It's the horrible thing about the internet. The beautiful thing about the internet is anyone can talk, and that's the same reason why it sucks.
Yeah, that was perfectly put. It baffled me so much. I actually went to a psychiatrist to ask him. There's a psychiatrist who's a friend of family. I'm like, why do people do that? And he said, human beings have all sorts of emotional impulses, and we're constrained by society from acting out on a lot of them. Maybe you're an unhappy person. You want to swear at every single person you see, but you can't, or you get punched in the eye, or there's other bad feedback. But on the internet, all that stuff just comes out.
Yeah.
So.
And you're anonymous, so there's no repercussions whatsoever. Like, occasionally, you guys hear about that guy on Reddit. He was a famous, infamous guy on some of these forums because he would post, like, really inappropriate shit, really rude things, nasty things. And apparently, I don't know if it was anonymous or who went after the guy, but they found his actual identification. They knew who he actually was. And they contacted his employers, and they sent him the posts that this guy was making, and he got fired. And, they interviewed him, and he said, it was his release. He said he was just playing a role. And, he would show pictures of underage girls and all kinds of, like, really creepy shit. Yeah, I mean, that was his thing. And it was real, I mean, in real life. I mean, he got real life repercussions because he got fired because of it. So it was a big deal eventually.
It doesn't surprise me at all. We have guys email us every week. Can you please delete all my posts on your forum? Because they're looking for a job, or they just don't want that stuff out in public.
I've had that happen on my own message board, but I'm like, dude, your name is like, suck it off 69. You really think someone's gonna find that? Right. It just seems like a weird place to look. Now, when you started, what's really interesting about this sport, for folks who don't know, mixed martial arts, when I came along in 1997, it's whenever I first started working for the UFC, it was essentially a banned sport. The only way you could get it was DirecTV. That was the only way you could get it. It was banned from cable. And when you would talk to people about it, they would talk to you like you were a horrible person for being involved in such a thing. And the sport stayed alive because of the internet. It was the first sport ever that stayed alive because of the internet. The websites, whether it was SureDog or MMA Weekly, I don't know when that came along, but there was a bunch of them that came along. That was how we found out about the sport. That's how we found out about the Pride shows and K1 and all the different fights that were going on in Japan and in Brazil. The only way to find out about them was the internet. So we were all, like, really active. Like, and you would go to these forums and you would try to find out, what is happening, what's going on now. And a lot of times, you would be able to buy tape. I used to get tapes from a dude in Canada. A friend of mine in Canada had a friend, and this dude contacted me, a dude named Brian, and I would buy tapes from him. He would get them from Japan, and he would send them down to me in California. I still have a gang of them. And it was like all Genki Sudo's old fights and Kid Yamamoto, like in the early days. And it was really it was such an underground sport. And it's one of the reasons why the name of your website was so perfect, because it was the underground of the underground sport.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I actually, many years ago, maybe 15 years ago, I tried to get Wired magazine to do an article on it, because they did, maybe it was 10 years ago, they did an article on the role of the internet in revolutions in countries, and that was starting. I was like, hey, I got a sport that was saved by the internet, and I sent them some cool pictures, and they were like, oh, those are cool pictures, we're not interested. But I agree 100%, and I try to get some notice of that in the sort of the tech community, or at least as much about the tech community, as much of the tech communities I know, which was Wired magazine.
Well, there wasn't very many other sports that can claim that. None that I could think of. I mean, what other sport? First of all, there's never been a sport in our life that has grown the way MMA has. There's nothing even close. They tried it with soccer, it didn't take. I mean, there's been a bunch of attempts. Remember when they had that basketball game that they used to play on trampolines?
Oh, they still play that game. I've seen it on ESPN like 7 before. It's like still on like 1 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday.
That's what they used to have, like PKA karate. PKA karate used to be on at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Kick of the 80s, yep.
The kick of the 80s, that's right. That's what they called it. But there was no sport in my lifetime that grew like MMA did, from complete total obscurity to the cover of ESPN or the front page of CNN, the cover of Sports Illustrated. Like, that shit never happened. There's never been a sport that blew up like that. And when it was at its worst, when it was at its most desperate time, it was sites like yours really that kept it alive.
Yeah, Ultimate Athlete magazine listed, again, this is going back 10 or 12 years, because they tried to compete with the UFC with a show also using the term ultimate, and they got sued and disappeared. But before they disappeared, they did the 20 most important things in the history of the internet, and number 8 was the underground, and they were like, if not for the underground and several other sites, the sport might have died. And then they went on to discuss exactly what you are, because it had been banned from television and everything.
Well, at one point in time, the underground had more posts than the underground.
Oh, it still does.
Does it?
Well, it got to be so much, our server got full, and so we killed the underground one day, and everybody got mad at us. But it's there more or less even now.
We have to prune it. I think it's still more traffic,
pruned.
but we have to, like, every 30 days just delete them, because it's stupid. It's these guys at work 9 to 5. They don't even give a shit about MMA. They just found a space in the internet with some friends, and they just stay there all day. When I worked
psychos.
When I worked 9 to 5, that's all I did all day.
Yeah.
Like, I was IT guy. I was just OG all day. That's
well,
all
that is the thing about people that have desk jobs where they're not being watched. The amount of productivity that's lost today because of the internet is off the fucking charts.
It is absolutely absurd. If you look at our stats, we're only popular during work days. Weekends, nobody bothers. They're having fun. Yeah. They're going to a barbecue or taking a jog or whatever. Nighttime, they're
Isn't that amazing?
Kissing their girlfriend. It's people at work all day
It's
long.
amazing how much time is being wasted. People are getting paid by the hour to surf the underground and look at girls' asses.
Lots.
Look at one of those 9,700-page ass threads that you guys have.
There's it's a testament to how things are screwed up in American management, though, that it's allowed. I mean, nobody should be able to go on the internet during the workday, because they're not going to be doing work. They're going to be
listening to this podcast right now. There's a huge amount of people at work with headphones on that aren't doing any fucking work at all. They're just kicking their feet back. They might have like a folder open, like they're pretending to pay attention to some fucking spreadsheet, but really they're just listening to us. That's normal.
I know that there's a little thing you can download for your computer. So at the touch of a button, a spreadsheet pops open and makes it appear as if you're working hard. So your boss comes and looks over your shoulder and bing, spreadsheet, and you go back.
I've only worked with Kirik since 2006. Before that, I was just an IT guy. I graduated college, regular IT job, but I was into the sport, and so I would work IT 8 to 5. And I had the underground up all the time, or I was doing work for him, like on the side, and I had a button on the floor that was attached to USB, and when I tapped it, like an Excel spreadsheet would pop up, and like another document, so it looked like I was working. So if like the boss came in behind me, tap the button, looks like I'm working. But I'd really just be OG and I'm working on something else all day.
Your boss is listening right now. He wants his fucking money back.
Yeah, probably. I think I owe him like 40 grand a year for 3 years or something.
That really is a giant issue. Now, another giant issue that you guys must have come across is bandwidth. I mean, how much bandwidth does that site use, and how much does that cost every month?
I remember when the first time I ever noticed bandwidth was an issue, it was $75 a month, and this probably would have been 99 or something. I was like, oh my God, $75 a month? This is insane. And then an ex-NFL player owned a snake store in Colorado, and he kind of heard I was having this huge $75 a month bandwidth issue. And so he said, you know what, put a banner on your site for my snake store in Colorado. I'll give you $75 a month. I was like, oh my God, this is money. This is commerce. And what do we pay now, Chris? $3,000 a month or something
probably
for
like
it?
$3,000 a month.
$3,000 a month in bandwidth.
Yeah, hosting, bandwidth, all that fun shit.
That's insane.
And that's not including the the capital costs of the
and we
hard
still
drives
go
and
down
stuff.
when something crazy happens, like fight related, like
Just
people
get too
say
much
like
traffic.
McGregor's about to break the internet or something, and it happens all the time. Kimbo's broken the internet more than once.
Kimbo.
Just
Now,
big moments. They tend to break things.
now, when you go to the underground, if you go to mixed martial arts, I've almost said MMA.tv. If you go to
still goes there.
MMA.tv,
It redirects if you go there.
Yeah, we pay $500 a year to keep that, just because half the people still type it in when they go to a browser. So.
Well, my browser used to be programmed to it. I would hit M, and that would fill in. I would click that, and then it would forward to mixedmartialarts.com. But you got a bunch of banners, like you have Mazda ads, and do you guys have to actively seek those out?
No, we have a company that pretty much reps all the ad inventory. So we've made some deals ourselves, like with the endemics, like the Rev Gear and DraftKings and Request to Test, Fox. But someone else just sells the rest.
And so now, is this your job entirely for both of you?
Yeah,
absolutely,
100%.
100%.
That's wild, isn't it? Like at one point in time, this must have been like a frivolous thing that you were doing.
For him it
for
was,
the first decade or something. Occasionally, we would get ahead by a few $100s, and then there'd be some local fighter I know who got a chance to fight in the Nebraska. I had a guy who got to fight in Nebraska, so I bought him an airplane ticket. That's what we would use with our super profits. And then I don't know when it turned pro.
2008.
Maybe 2008. Yeah, we brought in Chris, and Chris kind of got some good deals, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, we can make more than $75 a month.
Yeah, when I came on board, they were like, we have this website, it gets 1 million views a month, we make $100 a month. And I'm like, I think you can make more than that. So he's like, hey, try it. And so
Do it and you got a job.
So I reached out to like Tap Out, the big guys in the space, and I made big deals that these guys were like, you guys should go ask Tap Out for $800 a month. And I'm like, let's go ask him for $8,000 and see what happens. And sure enough, Tap Out bit at the time, and it kind of took off from there.
That's actually a true story, and the numbers are not exaggerated in the least. We were literally like kind of angling for $800 a month, and Chris literally said $8,000 a month, and they literally bought it, and we signed a contract. It's probably the greatest day of my entire life.
Tap Out is like a great example of the oversaturation of the market. Like Tap Out at one point in time was cool to wear. I know a lot of people have a hard time believing that.
1998, sophomore year of high school, I ordered the Tap Out shirt from inyourface.com, and I thought I was the shit. It said like submit to Tap Out to Cry Uncle to. It was like I was like, this is awesome. I wore it once a week to school because I thought it was the best thing in the world. I thought it was so cool, and you wouldn't catch me dead in the Tap Out shirt, before like 9 years ago.
So now you can't catch you dead in Tap Out shirts.
No, not a chance.
What happened?
I think they got related to like the douchebag aspect of MMA fans, and there is that whole big culture of like douchey MMA fans, and like Tap Out and Affliction, they all got kind of stuck in that.
Well, how did that happen?
I don't know how it
though?
happens.
I at a grappling tournament, again, 15 years ago or something, I had an interaction with a guy that stuck with me ever since. I had made some call in some match, and I think it was his match, not one of his students. He's got a big school up in Canada now. And he was arguing with me that I made the point wrong, and I was like, dude, it's just grappling. Come on, man. And he looked at me and he goes, look, this is what we do instead of having health insurance. And I just got cold, and I apologized, and I listened to what he said. But he said grappling is what I do instead of having health insurance.
So he pays for grappling instruction
instead of health
having health
insurance.
insurance.
Yeah, he was so serious about his lessons at Henzo's that he had moved from Canada, moved from Canada to New York, was taking lessons at Henzo's. He was probably he's a black belt now. He's probably a blue belt or a purple belt then. I was reffing a match. I probably made a wrong call. He lost. I was telling him it's not that important, and he said, this is what I do instead of having health insurance. I can't do both. It's how serious it is for me. And there's a hardcore fan base of the sport that's like that. Like if you were like, okay, health insurance or never discussing or having anything to do with MMA, they're sorry, health insurance, hope I don't break my leg. But that's the hardcore fan base. Around them there's millions of knuckleheads that also buy the apparel and stuff, and eventually the knuckleheads outnumber the hardcores, and and it doesn't work. The one of the huge exceptions to that, though, is Roots of Fight. It's just an unbelievable company. The very first time I saw one of their things,
I'm wearing one right now.
Yeah.
you're wearing one right now.
I wear their shit all the time. I have one of their jackets too.
Yeah, I've got one in my suit. I don't know why I didn't even wear it. I've got one in my suitcase right now. They managed to do it with integrity. I think I see their apparel around a lot, and to me at least, they still have complete integrity. If the president and the entire Senate was wearing it, I'd still be like, yeah, Roots of Fight is awesome.
Well, Roots of Fight takes old like fight promo posters and turns them into cool T-shirts and all like this one. This is the actual sign for the Gracie Academy in like the 1950s, and this is amazing. To me, it's like a little piece of history. So I don't think they're ever going to go out of style. But there's a certain douchey element that's attached to the T-shirt world of mixed martial arts, because it became a way that guys that sort of identify with the sport. Like there's one that I always cite. There's a real shirt that I saw in New Jersey. This guy was wearing a shirt that said, "Some guys grapple, some guys strike. I'm both." And I was like, "Oh, you're disgusting."
I actually know that company. Yeah.
Yeah. Some guys are strikers, some guys are grapplers. I'm both.
My favorite MMA T-shirt of all time is Kip did a run off of it, but a couple of companies have. My girlfriend loves to grapple, but you should see her box. My favorite MMA T-shirt I've ever had. I think I still have it in the closet somewhere.
That's a good shirt for Boston too, because the word box is synonymous with vagina in Boston. And it's one of those weird things.
Is
it's
it
somehow
just a
or another.
Boston thing?
I did not know that was just a Boston thing.
It's
I just
very-
assumed it was worldwide.
It's spread.
We've had our
we've
effect.
spread it. We've spread it across the world. But I think it came from our neck of the woods. I think box was like
Box.
It doesn't even look like a box. Like, maybe a Kleenex, because it's like the box with this hole in the middle.
well, how are
Paper
tits
bag.
cans? Tits were cans
Right.
for a long time. Right? What is that? That doesn't make any sense. Right? Yeah.
Beantown
I don't
Pride.
think any of the nicknames for tits make sense. Probably.
Boobs. They
Boobs.
look like boobs. Did you ever think at one point in time of not keeping that site going? Was there any time where it was becoming too expensive or too much of a pain in the ass, and you were just like, fuck this place?
No, the worst of the sport is in some ways when I was the most dedicated to it. When the sport got off of pay-per-view, and there was like 3 pay-per-views in a year, and that was more or less it. Hook and shoot. Jeff would put on a couple of hook and shoots a year. There's almost nothing. I figured the sport was going to die on a national basis, and then we would just sort of build it up over 40, 50 years, and I'd be dead at the end of it. But I believe in the sport. I always have, and I thought it would build up from the bottom up. And so I thought the internet, at the time at least, was incredibly important to do that. So when the sport was at its lowest, I was actually the most excited about keeping the site going. I've definitely never for a single moment wanted to turn. I've wanted to turn it off because of all the jerks, but.
Well, I always had loyalty to your site for a couple reasons. One, because it was one of the first ones that I ever joined, and it was like one of the places where, like I said, you would get guys like Josh Barnett would post on there, and all
Tito
these.
Ortiz.
Yeah, a lot of guys.
A lot of big guys. Randy back in the day. And even like Dan Henderson.
Dana White would be on it all the time back in the day.
Dana's still on it every day. He just doesn't.
He doesn't post anymore? How do you know?
Because he
You check
calls
his
me about
thing?
once a week to complain.
Oh, Jesus.
Legit.
Does he complain about like posts that are up?
Here and there, yeah.
He shouldn't
especially
have spread that. He's going to get mad at you.
No, just as people are like making things up about him. He doesn't like that.
People right now are
Yeah,
they're
right.
going to be making things up right now because they know that you guys are here.
Right. I mean, when he says stuff that he says, he doesn't care. But if somebody twists his words and makes something up, he gets upset about
Well,
that.
that's why people do it for fun.
Yeah,
it's called
exactly.
trolling.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
I mean, they're going to continue to do it now, Dana. Jesus Christ, Chris just threw you under the fucking bus.
I'm gonna get a call in like 10 minutes. Like, you're fired. Or
But
you're-
I always had loyalty for 2 reasons. One, because of that, but 2, because Kirik and I, we know people from Massachusetts. Like, we knew, like, we're probably pretty close to the same age. I'm 47. How old are you?
54.
54. In that time period, we knew a lot of the same martial arts people. Like, I'd heard about you. I heard about your school in Western Massachusetts. Western Massachusetts was always the home of Larry Kelly, who's like a really well-known karate guy.
He was my business partner for 20 years.
And he was really popular, or famous rather, for knocking out Billy Blanks back when Billy Blanks was a fucking superhero. I mean, he was the point karate guy. And that's another one where they dusted a guy off and made him fight again. If you watch that fight with Billy Blanks, Larry Kelly KOs him with a hopping hook kick to the face, and Larry was famous for his hook kick, which is a really hard shot. It's a hard kick to generate force with because your hips have to start out here, and then they have to switch that way. It's a weird motion, whereas like a round kick seems more natural, like kinetically. But Larry had it down. He hook kicked Billy Blanks in the face and sent him flying. He skid across the mat. He was completely unconscious. And they waited for him to wake up, and then they were literally trying to get him to fight again. That's how, this is it right here. Oh, here it is. Watch this. This is like when people talk shit about the hook kick, I say, well, I'm going to show you something here. First of all, Bill Superfoot Wallace, and boom, that. I mean, come on, son. Look at that. I mean, that was beautiful. One more time. Look at this. The hop, boom, and he disguised it behind the back fist or a jab or whatever he was doing with his front hand. Beautiful. And when they dusted him off after that, if you watch the actual full video, they waited for a long time. They were trying to get him to go back in there and fight again, which is how stupid people were back then.
Terrible.
They had no knowledge. When we were coming up, and we were talking before the show started about guys who had been knocked out in the gym and all these people that we know, people get knocked out, they would dust you off and push you right back in there. Like that day, 5 minutes later, like right here is Billy. They're warming him up. They're like, "Wake up, Billy! Wake up! Wake up!" He's like, "I think I got a dream. It's called Tybo." They put smelling salts in his nose. And there's a bunch of these guys. There was him and a bunch of other guys like him that were these really big, super muscular guys that were involved in the point fighting circuit. And they got real good at leaping in and tagging you. And you're starting to see that skill emerge in MMA. I know there's a guy who fights for Bellator. His name is escaping me right now. He's a
Venom.
What's his? Yeah,
Venom. Yeah,
Michael Page, right? Yeah, that's it. And he has that style. And then, of course, you've got Raymond Daniels, who's fighting in Glory, who's really picking up the kickboxing game, who also was a great fighter in the point karate circuit. And he's got that style, that leap-in style, and the ability to cover distance, the ability to jump in and cover distance in a way that you can't. You know, like there's a lot of guys that are they're sticking to that Muay Thai style, sort of flat-footed, Thiago Silva, plod forward sort of style. And that shit is not flying anymore. You got these guys like TJ Dillashaw that are now using that neo footwork style. But the Raymond Daniels style, I think that's the next level. I think you've got that style of leaping in on top of the neo footwork style. Because that ability that those guys had of just closing the distance really quick with that karate-style blitz, I still think that's like a missing aspect in a lot of MMA. Machida had it a little bit. You know, he has an element of that, but he was more of a counter-striker. But I think Larry Kelly, like in that video, like demonstrated like why that can be like super effective, like that.
It actually originally came into the sport of point fighting from Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee picked it up from fencing. Bruce Lee watched all kinds of, he watched boxing, he loved Muhammad Ali the same way Dominic Cruz did, try and pick up things from him, and he watched fencing, and fencers have the quickest footwork and handwork that I personally have ever seen. They just explode forward, and he picked it up, and he showed it to a karate guy named Joe Louis, not the boxer Joe Louis, but a karate guy named Joe Louis, and Joe Louis started smashing everybody with it, and so everybody else picked it up. And then the point fighting in karate where you stop every single time you land something, which is kind of nutty, started to dissipate, and people started doing what's called continuous point, where you weren't trying to knock each other out. You were trying to land super clean shots without a knockout, but you kept going, and that's where like Daniels came from, and Michael Venom Page and guys like that. And I do think that it can be applied to the sport. And then, you know, in a couple of years, people learn how to counter that, and something new will come along. But when you can do something new in the sport, you get a little edge for a while, like Machida did with his traditional Shotokan karate, those long lunges forward and sort of jabbing super hard and throwing that right hard. He had an advantage over everybody until he started bringing karate guys in, and they're like, oh, okay, it's not that tough to shut down.
Once guys figure out what they're doing, you know, once you find a guy who's really good that you can spar with, then you can kind of time it. But until then, it's like, what is this this new style of movement that I have in front of me that I don't know anybody who moves like this, and it's super hard to judge. Super hard to judge the timing.
I got to watch it organically, most notably through grapplings. I started reffing grappling in the late 90s for my best friend Kip Kolar with Naga. And I would watch as new grappling techniques would get introduced. When I started, nobody knew what a heel hook was. And then a few guys would learn a heel hook, and guys didn't know how to tap. They didn't know what break your leg if you didn't tap. And there'd be these horrific injuries of guys spinning the wrong way from heel hooks. And now hardly anybody taps to a heel hook. It's not that tough to get out of.
Unless Paul Harris gets you.
Unless Paul Harris gets you in.
Then you're in trouble.
That motherfucker. Jesus Christ, he's terrifying. Or Eddie Cummings, or Gary Tonin. There's a new level of guys that are coming at the grappling circuit out of John Danaher School, and that's like this new level of leg locks. Like leg locks are really permeating all of grappling and jiu-jitsu now in a very new and strange way. I've had some interesting conversations with Eddie Bravo about it, where Eddie really ignored leg locks until a few years back, and then started incorporating it. And a lot of it is because of the success of a lot of these East Coast guys. A lot of the, like I said, Gary Tonin, Eddie Cummings, and a lot of it is under the tutelage of Danaher. But there's a lot of guys in grappling that are really getting good at it. And of course, in MMA, it was Paul Harris. It really kind of opened up a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah, it's funny you brought it up. I'm going to train with Eddie tonight down in L.A., and I told someone that, and they're like, yeah, he's been really working on his leg locks lately, so that's what you need to look out for. My gym, coincidentally, we've been doing leg locks forever. Like Joe Lozo and those guys, that's their bread and butter. They've been doing flying heel hooks for 10 years, and it all came from a guy named Donnie Banville in Fall River, who's actually passed now, but he grew up with a Japanese mother in judo, and he was like the leg lock king, and this is like 2002, and we're like, what the fuck is a leg lock? But he came into our gym, and he taught us like rolling toe holds, he taught us the flying leg lock, all inside, outside heel hook, all that stuff, and we're like, this is awesome. And for years, our gym was a competitive advantage. We knew leg locks, so we would beat guys in grappling tournaments and fights with leg locks, and they had no idea what was going on.
Do you guys remember Scott Adams?
Yeah, of course.
Scott Adams, right? Yeah, and he was one of the guys who trained with Chuck, like way back in the day. He was known as like a leg lock master back when no one knew what the hell leg locks were. He was one of those guys that you would hear about, and you would go to him. You know, there was a few of those guys. Like Frank Mir had some real good leg locks way, way back in the day, and that fucked him when he fought Ian Freeman. Remember that? He was going for the heel hook.
I was live in London for that one.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Wow, that was when I wasn't working for the UFC. I was watching that at home, and I remember that was the issue with leg locks, was that when someone would attack a leg lock, you would have both your arms committed to the leg lock so you wouldn't be able to defend against punches. And as you know, with a guy like Ian Freeman, it only takes one to scramble your fucking senses, and then a couple. I mean, Frank got hit by like 4 or 5 in a row. Boom, 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 boom. He just was gone, you know, and it's interesting to see that the progression of these techniques, how it changes and how it morphs. And one of the things, like if you look at a guy like Larry Kelly, or you look at like a lot of these traditional karate techniques, those techniques were kind of looked at like those don't work anymore. But now you're seeing so many of these traditional martial arts techniques, like front kicks to the body, are now standard. Like Conor McGregor ruined Chad Mendes with front kicks to the body, just jabbing him with those front kicks to the body and the spinning back kick to the body. You're seeing a lot of guys throw those kicks to the body now. You're seeing a lot of wheel kicks. That Wonderboy Thompson fight, he fought Jake Ellenberger. Holy shit.
Holy shit.
I mean, you're seeing these traditional techniques that are just super effective when you get them in the hands of a guy like Edson Barboza, when you get them in the hands of a guy who knows all the other things.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. At various points, I have thought, okay, the sport is done. We've sort of got this body of knowledge, and we've just got to refine what we've got, and we're not going to be seeing a lot of new stuff coming in. And every time I had that thought, 6 months later, something had come along, and I would be proven wrong. And including super simple things like the Ironman guillotine. When it first started happening in grappling tournaments, I was reffing. First time it really hit me hard, I was reffing in Hawaii. A guy stuck in an Ironman guillotine. I thought it was a front headlock. And in Naga, you give points if somebody gets close to a tap. And I'm standing here, like there's nothing going on. It's a front headlock. It's not gonna. And the guy went to sleep.
Remember
like, oh,
Pete Sell and Phil Baroni? Pete Sell put Phil Barone to sleep, and Phil said after the fight, he goes, "I didn't know that you could get put to sleep with one of those."
Right.
Because we didn't know. It wasn't that he was ignorant. We didn't know.
Yeah.
But Matt Serra, who was Pete Sell's coach, knew. They were a little bit ahead. Because the jiu-jitsu is Renzo Gracie black belt, a little bit ahead, a little bit ahead of everybody.
When I started learning jiu-jitsu, I was told you're safe if the arm's in your front head in the guillotine. You're like, oh, just hang out and he'll let go and you're good. You were always safe.
They figured out how to get up high on the neck. That's what happened. When guys started getting that guillotine, they would lean back like a regular guillotine, and it didn't work. But now when they get up high on the neck, man, it just shuts the lights out. If you got a good grip. There's also different grips. Like this is a big one that a lot of guys are using. This pretzel grip where you wrap around this way. It seems awkward until you have someone's neck in there. And then for some reason, it feels amazing. Yeah, I know. Jake Shields likes it. I learned it from Denny Propagos, who was a big fan of. He's a big fan of like incorporating all kinds of weird grips to it. I mean, different people have different grips that they use with techniques, and it's amazing how just those little subtle adjustments have a huge impact on the efficiency of the technique. How much leverage you can get into the technique.
Yeah, I think Tom Waller told me that was his grip one day, and I was like, I'll try it. It seems weird, but I like that grip now. And
it's a great grip. Somebody won in Mexico with a guillotine, and then did like motion to the camera. They went like this, and they went like no, like this. Like he did it to the camera. Showed after he got the tap. The name escapes me who it was, but it's fascinating to me, all the different techniques and the different variables. And we're seeing that even with the traditional martial arts techniques, there's still a lot of things that guys are doing wrong with like traditional kicks, like side kicks and spinning back kicks or turning side kicks. There's still a lot of guys that have the knee down instead of the knee up. They don't lift the knee high enough because it takes a long time to learn how to do that. But when you do it, then you get that thrusting kick, which just has so much more power, like Barboza. Like you see Barboza's turning side kicks this weekend. Yeah. He's lifts that knee up high, and it comes straight at you. That motherfucker kicks so fast.
Can you imagine getting kicked square in the dick like what's his name did from that spinning back kick? Heel right to the dick.
I don't know what kind of cup he has, but if it's one of those diamond MMA ones or one of those Thai steel cups.
Yeah, the diamond ones are supposed to be like you can run them over with a car and they don't.
Do you have one?
No, yeah, that's what I use. They're incredible.
They're great. Do you have one,
Yeah,
Kirik?
they're 100%. I can actually do one of those kick me in the Jimmy skits, and you can get kicked in the Jimmy, and it actually
they have like
is
this commercial. They put an apple in the cup on the ground, and they run it over with a regular cup, and it gets destroyed. Then they put it on the diamond cup, and they run it over, and the apple's fine.
Yeah, they're legit.
4,000 pounds of a car or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting because all these these little problems that people used to have, and they still have. There's a lot of guys that still have shitty old cups. Like I don't know what Felder was using, but it looked to me like a regular jockstrap and a cup that you'd buy at fucking a sporting goods store.
$10 Shock Doctor or something cup.
I was cornering Roxanne a few years ago at a strike force, and we were at I think we were just taking a long walk to shake our nerves off. Roxanne Modafferi? Yeah. It was the same one where Fedor knocked out Rogers, and I think come on,
spit it out.
Has some mental health issues right now
in this sport.
Yeah,
he was on list.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Mayhem Miller.
He knows how to fight.
Yeah.
Mayhem Miller, sure.
I ran into Mayhem Miller, and he had his cup, and it was just a cup that you would buy for $14.95 at Dick's Sporting Goods or something. The metal cups are I think they're the best, because if you kick them, you get a broken toe, and if you figure four somebody's body, you can dig the metal cup into their spine, and
I don't even
just
grapple
from
with the cup now. I feel like I'm not confident. Like I go to like move, and I'm like, just cup. Can't do it.
The metal cups are banned from a lot of grappling tournaments because they offer
a weapon.
Yeah, it's a weapon. It's like a leverage point, like a fulcrum point, especially for arm bars.
Oh,
it's
terrible.
like you have a rock there. It's a completely different point of leverage than you would have if it was just your dick.
I wonder if that's how Big Tim's forearm broke when Mir did it. I wonder if he had a metal cup on it.
He could have
that forearm over the edge of the metal cup. Did it? I never thought about that.
It's very possible. A lot of guys fight with tie cups, steel cups.
Yeah, I tell everybody too.
Like Joe Lozone has this back mount, and he calls it broke back mount. So he gets like the hook set right, and then he's got the hook set. He flattens you flat on the ground, but then he scoots his ass back, so like his cups in your asshole pretty much, and it's terrible. I've tapped out to it because he just drives forward with a hard cup, and it feels like you're getting fucked in the ass. So you gotta just pretty much tap out.
Well, you kind of are.
You kind of, yeah. I mean, there's probably no penetration, but it's pretty close to it.
That's so rude.
It's fucking terrible. But you can't move. You can't. You're like stuck because you can't like push your hips up to the sky. It's terrible.
Well, there's some moves that are still legal in grappling, like oil checks. Like
those are illegal.
That's
right?
No, that's legal in NCAA wrestling.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's wrong. You are literally shoving your fingers in a man's asshole to control him, and they move because of that. Because it fucking hurts. It's horrible. It's weird that you can do that, but you can't just grab his dick. I mean, you want to really manipulate a guy? Grab his dick. You can move him around.
I mean, if you think about it, if a fish hook is illegal,
right,
why should you be able to put your finger in a guy's butt? I mean, that's
totally
should be
illegal.
800 more times illegal.
Well, don't you think there's a bunch of stuff that needs to be changed in the rules? Like downward elbows. That is just dumb as fuck.
Every time I'm at a show, I watch the ref try to explain where you can't elbow a guy.
Yeah.
And every ref is different. And under the corners, like, what are you talking about? Like, there's like a fucking mohawk.
Oh,
and
no. I mean, that's the area. 12 to 6.
Yeah, okay.
The 12 to 6 elbow was banned because, and Big John McCarthy told me this, that when they first brought the sport to the athletic commissions, they said, okay, you can do anything, but you can't do this downward elbow strike, because I saw a guy on ESPN break bricks in a karate tournament. So they thought that this was the most powerful strike known to man. Hi-ya! Meanwhile, you got Barboza wheel kicking Terry Edom into another dimension, and that's legal. And also, like, the back of the head. Like, I get the fact that you don't want people to get hit in the back of the head. But here's the reality. Almost every head kick is landing in the back of the head.
That's why guys go out, because the foot wraps around and hits them in the back of the head.
Yeah, it's a big part of it. A big part of the impact is the instep or the shin literally hitting that spot where everyone tells you not to hit when you do ground and pound with little short punches. I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, someone's telling you can't hit a hammer fist in the back of the head, you know, when your arm is half tied up and you're trying to do that, and they're like, watch the back of the head. But meanwhile, when you're standing, you just crank it with all that thigh meat and bone and 50 pounds of leg behind it, and boom! That's legal. It's very strange.
The thing about the back of the head that a lot of fans don't know is that both players have a responsibility. And that what usually happens, especially with those kicks, is the kick starts to come in and people shy away from it because the kick's coming in and they expose the back of their head and then they get knocked out. But both players, both fighters have a responsibility about that back of the head stuff. And if a shot comes in that if you hadn't moved would hit you in the side of the head, and then you move and your back of your head starts to get exposed, it's kind of on you.
Well, the same on the ground as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
When a guy's pounding on you on the ground and you're moving your head away from the punches to your face and he hits the back of your head and then the referee says, watch the back of the head. Well, you were already launching that punch before the guy turned. It's kind of not really your fault.
Yeah, agreed 100%.
Is there a lot of science behind the back of the head thing? I mean, isn't it bad to hit any part of the fucking head?
I don't think any part of the head is not good to hit.
It came from boxing. It was called a rabbit punch in boxing, going back to before it's always been illegal in boxing. I had a weird one 2 years ago at the Association of Boxing Commissions Convention. I spoke with a surgeon who's one of the ringside physicians group heads, and I was like, I asked about this exact thing we're discussing. I said, how dangerous is the back of the head? And he said, the one that I'm worried about is right here. He said that
the forehead.
Apparently, I didn't know anything about it. When we're little kids, the bones haven't quite grown together. And as you get a little older, up until 2 years old or something, all the bones come together and they form in a little spot right here. But he thinks that there's actually a weakness in being hit right here. And in the 80s, I remember being at Master Toddy's Muay Thai studio in Manchester, England, and we watched a videotape, and Toddy said that guy died on the tape. And I was like, holy God, how did he die? And it was a downward elbow right to here. It's like sounds like a silly sort of a blood sport thing. But that jumping downward elbow right to this spot here is illegal in Muay Thai. So it may well be
in
that
Muay
that's
Thai,
actually...
That's illegal?
Yeah, the single downward or the double downward where they jump up and come right down and hit right here is illegal.
So that's so strange that the forehead would be an illegal target in Muay Thai. That seems so bizarre.
With an elbow.
With a downward elbow.
With a downward elbow.
But what about like a slashing elbow.
Totally fine. It cut away.
But it seems
it's
like
the downward
but
one.
Even a hard one, like a strong elbow, it's still. I mean, it's not that specific. If you're hitting someone in the forehead, if it's that dangerous,
it may be as simple as a few times guys, well, a lot of times in Muay Thai, guys have been downward elbow, winging elbowed across the head, and they didn't die. They just got a big cut, and then somebody actually passed away from the straight downward, and they were like, all right, we're not doing that anymore.
But the problem is in Muay Thai, you're not dealing with the most stringent athletic commissions that are doing MRIs and CAT scans and making sure the people have their EKGs in order. There's none of that going on. So who knows why the fuck that guy died?
And a lot of people speed. They take speed before they do Muay Thai because it makes you more. Yeah, that's pretty common. Kids died of it, and they
in Thailand.
Yeah, several younger fighters died from. They would take speed, and because you're. I mean, I know some kickboxers back in the '80s that took speed for the same reason. You kind of train harder, you get more aggressive, you're more angry, you feel pain less.
Do you remember Rip Fuel?
Yeah, I do.
I took that shit once and went to jiu-jitsu class. Oh, my God. I almost fucking died. My heart was pounding. It was like, thong, 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 thong. And I was like, I got to sit down.
Yeah.
Like, I've never been, it wasn't tired. It wasn't a tired thing. It was like my heart was racing. It was like, I shouldn't be this tired. Like, my heart shouldn't be beating like this.
And then try that in a fight when you're adrenalized and you're bleeding and he's bleeding and the referee's screaming. There's 2,000 people screaming. And imagine what your heart would have done. Yeah, guys have died from it.
Well, people did die from Rip Fuel. It's one of the reasons why. I mean, I remember taking it, and I remember I rolled with a couple guys, and then I had to sit down because I was really concerned. I was like, this is not like me being a pussy. There's something going on here. And then I heard about all these people dropping like flies, and then they pulled it off the shelf, and then they made it illegal. But I would take it before I would lift, and I'd feel like fucking Superman. I'd be like, you just have but lifting, you're doing sets of 6 or whatever the hell you're doing. It's not taking you that long. When you're doing a 9-minute roll, that's when the heart really starts getting taxed and it just can't recover. It can't calm down. It's just you're confusing the signals with that goddamn speed.
A friend of mine, I don't want to call it a seizure, but he had a little seizure while we were driving. We were driving to Honolulu, and all of a sudden he just kind of pulls over and freezes and shakes, and it was from Ripped Fuel. It's kind of weird. If we'd been on the highway, I don't know what would have happened.
You would have died.
I would have died because of Rip Fuel.
Or you would have reached over in a fucking heroic manner and sat in his lap and drive you to safety. Yeah, it's interesting how there's all these different like crazy athletic supplements that kind of go by the wayside. They start out being like Jack 3D was one that I think have they pulled that? Find out if they pulled that. Because I know that somebody, like guys in the military apparently were taking it. I have a buddy of mine who's in the military, and he told me about it. He texted me. He goes, you ever try this Jack 3D? Holy shit, I'm getting big on this. And then like 4 months later, somebody died on it. I was like, I sent him the article. I'm like, man.
My understanding is that unscrupulous companies will come up with some new formula that's got horny goat weed and oyster meat and who knows what all in it. And they will actually add real anabolic steroids to it. And they'll market it. You'll get huge, and then they'll take the steroids out, but the stuff still has a reputation.
So it's back?
Yeah, I think you can still buy it.
Well, find out Jack 3D. Maybe they changed the formula or something like that. Just Google Jack 3D deaths. So I might have to apologize if I'm wrong. Death. Armies. He was one of death after using Jack 3D points to gap in regulation. But it could also just be a guy that just died. See, that's the problem. It's like, who the fuck knows what's killing these people? You don't know. People die just jogging. They do die. They die with nothing in their system. They die with just fucking salads in them. And if the guy died, and he would have died anyway, and he just took Jack 3D and died, you'd blame the Jack 3D. But I don't know. A lot of goddamn people taking that.
Do you remember
stuff.
Redline? It was like a drink. Oh, I remember taking that. Someone was like, "Here, take this. It'll make you feel great for your workout." I thought my chest was gonna blow out of my fucking heart. I thought that I've never done cocaine, but I feel like that's what cocaine feels like. Like it was like, and I had to work out for like 4 hours, and I went home and I was still jacked up. I never took it again. It was terrifying.
Well, that stuff was also like many doses in a little bottle.
Yeah, like you're supposed to drink like a quarter of the bottle.
Yeah, but it's not a big bottle. It's not like a can of Coke.
Yeah.
And you look at it, you're like, oh, this is a serving, but you don't read that. Who the fuck reads labels like those little, like this shit in the back, like the little tiny? First of all, I'm 47. My eyes suck. Unless I put reading glasses on, I can't read that. So these little things, like, I'd have to go, okay, how many? Four servings. This is 3 ounces of liquid. How's this 4 servings? What am I dividing this with?
It's like eating a pint of Ben & Jerry's. They tell you that's 4 servings too, but who doesn't eat the whole goddamn pint of Ben & Jerry's?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. But that's like how they get away with, like, you know, when you look at a bag of chips and it tells you how many calories there is per serving.
Yeah, only 100. Because you can eat 3 chips.
But it's interesting how the supplement industry, when it comes to bodybuilding and when it comes to you know, any athletic training, has really benefited from all these, you know, these different, like, regulations that get passed where new things become illegal, so that they come up with some new thing to kind of like fill in the blanks.
I'm one of those guys that always. I've never taken very many supplements because I've never made hardly any money from doing it. And I figured if I was making some money, I would definitely take every supplement on the market because it was worth it. But I was never very good and never probably made more than $200 or something. So I for me, it wasn't worth it.
You mean making money from fighting?
Yeah, I make money from fighting. It just was. Might as well just go in there and see how you do 100% natural.
Let's talk about what's going on right now with MMA, with the testing, because I think it's pretty fascinating. That this is a sport where, to be completely and totally honest, most likely a giant percentage of the population of the people involved in the sport were taking some sort of performance-enhancing drugs. It seems like to get through a training camp, and if you're not familiar with MMA, one of the crazy things about the sport is that it involves so many different disciplines. You have to learn how to wrestle. You have to learn submissions, meaning, you know, joint locks and chokes. You have to learn how to kickbox. You have to learn all these things, and you have to put them all together, and you also have to do a strength and conditioning program. So unlike boxing, where you're learning how to box, and then you're probably doing a little road work on top of that, but that's mostly it. I mean, some guys engage in some calisthenic programs. Manny Pacquiao's like his famous ab routine you could see him do. Kovalev actually does Pilates, which is kind of interesting. But they don't have to grapple. So for them, what's important is just honing those hand skills, recovering, and coming back and honing those skills. It's really, it's counterproductive for them to go through the same kind of workouts that the MMA guys do. But for MMA guys, this fucking grind of getting up in the morning every day and doing this for 6 to 8 weeks for a camp, it's almost impossible to do at the highest levels without some kind of help. And now the UFC has incorporated this rigorous, incredibly intense testing where they're doing randoms 5 times a year on people. So guys like Conor McGregor, Lyoto Machida, or anybody, they're just going to get tested. They're going to show up at your house, and if you're in camp, this is what's really fucked up to me. Say if you got to work out at 10 o'clock in the morning, and you need your sleep. You went to bed at 10. You know you're looking to get 10, 11 hours sleep, and they wake you up. They'll wake you up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. Pee in this cup right now, and you have to. And they wake you up. They fuck with your sleep. And, you know, yeah, they're only going to do it that one day. But you might go to the gym that one day and be tired because of that, and that might be the time you get injured. It's totally possible. It's totally unprofessional. It doesn't make any sense to me that they're allowed to just wake you up. They should have to do it in an off time, in a time where you absolutely are not going to be getting your rest. Like, you should have parameters. Like, you should say, listen, I go to bed at 11 p.m. every night. I wake up at 9:30 a.m. And in those times, leave me the fuck alone. Because I got to recover, goddammit, you know. But they don't do it that way. They just come anytime they want, and you have to pull out your dick and pee in a cup, and that's it. They watch you, too.
A guy has to watch your dick, yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah, because you could have a rubber dick. I mean, there's a whole market.
Kevin Randleman got busted with a Whizzinator.
Well, Kevin Randleman got busted with non-human urine.
Yeah. From the Whizzinator, horse urine or something. But guys will do everything to cheat if you're not looking at their dick. Like, you can rub like a paste on your thumb and like let your stream run through it. And Whizzinator's or the guy's gonna stare at your dick. He's gonna look at it and be like, that piece coming out of that dick.
And the paste was somehow or another diffused.
Yeah, so it would like diffuse. Like your stream would go through your finger, and the paste, whatever the ingredients were, would diffuse the sample or taint it or.
I think it's a good thing to find out what everyone's taking. I think it's also a good thing to try to figure out what is possible for the human body. Like, what kind of condition can you actually get in without help? I mean, and if we are really dealing with a sport where 70%, let's say 70, Vitor says it's like 90. Maybe he's right.
I would say have used at some point, it's 90. Using right now, I have no idea, but at some point in their career, we're using, it's 90.
Do you think that's the case at other sports?
I have no idea. I know a fair amount about mixed martial arts, but I wouldn't know which end of a tennis racket to hold. I don't know. Although Chris and I spent the good part of yesterday with two senior guys from USADA, and for hours they talked about everything that they've gone through ever since.
And that's the U.S. Anti-Doping Association.
Yeah, that's the group that the UFC is contracted with to do all the testing. And when we look at it, it does seem completely onerous. But from their point of view, they've been in a decades-long battle against people, particularly in a lot of sports, including maybe most notably cycling, where they told us a story yesterday about one of their testers. And they found this out later, years later in deposition. One of their testers shows up at the hotel. Somebody's waiting in the lobby and cell phones up. The guy is on his way up right now. The athlete sprints to the doctor's room, and the doctor grabbed an IV bag and squeezed it and forced it into him, and then put another one in and squeezed it and forced it. And there was enough extra liquid in his body from that, so his levels were a little kind of weird, but they didn't go over any threshold. And that's the kind of shenanigans that they've been fighting against. And I think that's the origin of that stuff, like, we're going to show up at 3 a.m. and we don't really care about you. In MMA, it does seem completely unnecessary, but from their point of view, with this decades of trying to fight dirty cyclists and things, they feel like that's the corner that they're forced into.
Well, cycling is the dirty sport.
It's the dirtiest, I think, right?
Has to be.
It's one of the dirtiest. That's why I saw something the other day, and some guy was winning the Tour de France, and I just started laughing. I'm like, what's he doing? What's he doing? What are you doing? What are you doing,
Yeah,
dude?
but
Why are you lying?
Who cares? They're riding the fucking bike. Like, they ain't trying to hurt anybody. Let them all do steroids and just see who wins.
Yeah, but you can't do that, because then the idea is that kids coming up are forced to take performance-enhancing drugs, because otherwise there's no way to win that sport. It's a fake sport. It's a fake sport in that the results that you're seeing are not normal results. They're superhuman results, and they only come about because you take a guy and you alter his chemistry. You alter his chemistry to the point where he's not a human anymore. Like, if you look at a bodybuilder, look at a bodybuilder, perfect example, and you look at some fucking giant Dorian Yates type character, just veins all over his eyeballs, and his fucking face is ripped, and he weighs 300 pounds, and he's 5'2". It doesn't make any goddamn sense. You're like, what is that? It's not a human.
No,
it's not a human, because
agree.
the levels that they have in their body are not human levels. This is a new thing. You've created a new thing with chemistry.
Yeah, guys, those bodybuilders will put on 70 pounds of muscle. And, like, as anybody knows who trains, putting on 7 pounds of muscle takes years. It takes years. It's just awful.
You could put on 10 pounds of muscle in 6 months if you are fucking really diligent, and you got to push through really hard, sore days. You got to do a lot of deadlifting. You got to do a lot of squats. You got to eat a lot of fucking meat, and you got to really work at it. But you can do it. You can put on. Most people don't work out that hard. But if you get a guy on the juice, you could put on. I was on this stuff called Mag 10. You used to be able to buy it at GNC. Do you remember this?
No.
It's like these pills they used to sell at GNC. They were like clear pills. You take like 10 of them. It was like some crazy number. I put on 10 pounds of muscle in like 7 weeks.
Jesus.
I'm not even kidding. And it was legal. It's the strongest shit I've ever taken. And when I got off of it, my dick died like it got hit by a sniper. My dick was useless. My dick was useless for like a month. It just wouldn't work. And I was like, wow, that's a steroid. That's a real steroid. And it was one of those things you could just buy. For a little bit, it was like that little window you could buy it, and then it went away. But I'm telling you, I never got bigger in my life off of anything other than this stuff, and I felt so strong. I would go to the gym, and like one day I'd be able to get 10 reps, and then my next workout 4 days later, it was 12 reps. It didn't make any sense. I'm getting an extra 2 reps in 3 or 4 days. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But you would just recover, and then I would think about, what is it like to take like Anadrol 50 or some of the really crazy ones that they say turn you into like a wild silverback gorilla?
And then stack them.
Right.
Yeah, those guys that would take him. Like, I remember I knew this dude who was a football player who told me that they would take Anadrol 50 and they would take all this different stuff. And, oh, no, this is a different guy. This is a bodybuilder. He told me he became a jiu-jitsu guy. He became a black belt under Jean-Jacques Machado. Great guy. And he told me that when he was bodybuilding and he took the Anadrol 50 stuff, he said literally he would see red and then wake up grabbing someone about to kill them. Like he would, like some guy said something to him in traffic, and before he knew it, he was out of the car, reaching into the guy's car, ready to kill him. And he was like, "What the fuck am I doing? I don't want to go to jail.
Right.
I don't want to kill anybody." Like this, but it was this overwhelming rage, like for almost nothing.
It just turns you into like an animal. Like it sets you back. Like you're strong as a gorilla, and you lose that like human part of you. You just fucking kill things.
You're not really a person. You're mostly person, but you got some other element in you. And the Anadrol 50 stuff is apparently, I don't know if it still is, but that was like the stuff that people would talk about. Like if you fuck with that, like that's the rager. That's the rager. And that's the stuff that puts 30, 40 pounds of just stacked, shredded beef on you. Just all those dudes that would, do squats and drop the bar and walk away. They're barely human. Barely human.
A guy at my gym this is going back probably early 80s, doing karate. Nice guy from a couple towns over. Moved to L.A., started bodybuilding, got a girlfriend, got pissed off at her, got a bat, broke her window, and she shot him dead. And he was not a violent guy. He'd never been convicted, never been arrested for any crimes, didn't do anything bad. I really do pin that on him just sticking every steroid he could possibly find in his ass until his brain blew up, and then his girlfriend literally shot him dead.
Well, there's a dude that I knew that died. His name was Curtis, and he was Vitor's original strength and conditioning trainer. Ooh. Like way back in '97 when Vitor was 19 years old. Remember when Vitor first fought in the UFC? Vitor weighed about 200 plus pounds, like 203 maybe maximum. He was real lean, but muscular as hell and fast as lightning. When Vitor first stormed onto the scene, we'd never seen hand speed like that. With good wrestling and jiu-jitsu too. I mean, Trey Telligman had no idea what was coming. He came out guns blazing. That guy that was training him, like Eddie Bravo and I, we used to call him garden hoses because the guy had veins that were like garden hoses. They didn't make any sense. He had these arms that were like, I'm not bullshitting, 5 of my arms, like maybe 5 of my arms rolled up in a cord. I mean, they were enormous, but he had veins throughout his arms that were like hoses, these huge fucking veins, and he was purple. He would lift weights, he would do like tricep extensions, and he would be purple. Just fucking the whole thing is about to blow. And one day it did. And one day it just blew. Pop! Boom! The whole thing just left him bleeding internally, and the whole thing exploded.
Heart or brain?
It's the whole fucking package. Catastrophic failure of everything. And he was in his 30s. He was a young guy, And that was when Vitor got up to like 240 when he fought Randy Couture. Remember that?
Yep.
I mean, he got just like a lion. He didn't even look like a person anymore. His head looked like it was attached at the top with a neck. Like the top of his head was where his neck started, and it just came down, and he just had no gas. His gas tank was for about maybe 30 or 40 seconds of flurrying, and then it would like quickly drop off.
Was that the fight that ended in like a minute with a cut on the eye?
No, that was for the light heavyweight title, and that was in the 2000s. This was way before that. I want to say 97 or 98, and I was there for that fight. And Vitor was like 240 pounds. That was when everybody thought he was going to kill Randy, and Randy just beat him down, took him down, smashed him, changed his life. Like Vitor before then was this unstoppable force who had destroyed Tank Abbott, he destroyed Telligman and Scott Ferozzo, and everybody was like, Vitor is the fucking, like people were talking about Vitor versus Hickson. There was all this like this crazy talk back then, And then Vitor had like that downward spiral that he went on for a little bit, where his sister got kidnapped and all that stuff happened after that.
They never found her, right?
She died. Yeah, she was killed.
Fortunate.
Horrible, horrible story. But the point being that like performance-enhancing drugs, it's not all fun games. Scary shit. And when you force your body to do something totally unnatural like that, like the rapid change of putting on 30, 40 pounds in literally 6 to 8 weeks, like that is not good for you.
That is not good for you at all.
So we got to stop that, right?
Agreed.
But the dialogue is like, what should be legal? It should it be legal to take creatine? Because that helps. Should it be legal to take amino acids? Because they help. Should you be allowed to take multivitamins? Should you have to get all your vitamins from food? Where does it end?
One of the ones that, in that regard, that I've been puzzling about for several years now is Nick Diaz he's used to cut a lot over the eyes, and there's a surgeon in Vegas that will cut your eyes open and grind down your eye orbits so they become less sharp. I don't know, is that cheating? I mean, he's doing surgery to change his body so he can be a more efficient fighter. Well, granted, it's kind of defensive. He's just trying not to get cut, but I don't know. I've been thinking about it for years, and I don't know what the answer is.
See, that one I don't have any problem with at all because he was born with just a weird eyebrow. And also, on top of that, he had so much scar tissue from all of his fights. So it wasn't just a matter of the bone was cutting. It was also a matter of, like, he had to get that scar tissue removed because it would just burst. You know, scar tissue, if you don't know, when you have scar tissue around your eye, when something heals up, it's measurably weaker than it was before that. But now they have new methods of dealing with that, like Vanderlei. Like, before Vanderlei got his surgery, his eyes, he would just get hit once, and it would swell up, and it would, like, come down and almost close his eye, and then it would cut open and start bleeding. And if you looked at him back then, before he had his surgery, his eyes were just a mass of scar tissue, like all around his eyebrows. So it makes everything thicker because you got all these cuts, they heal, and there's a knot, and then another one, it heals, and there's a knot. And all this time this is happening, your eyelids are relaxing also from getting hit a lot because the muscles get pulverized, and it starts drooping down over your eye. So some guys get surgery to sort of raise their eyelids back up and put them in place so they can see better. Because you when you're fighting for a long period of time, as the palooka look, like you always see it in cartoons, they get that thing where, yeah, I tell you what, boss, I'll go knock his brains in. That thing where they would get where the eyebrows would drop down, that impedes your vision.
Absolutely.
A lot of guys also don't realize that scar inside of your body takes a lot longer to heal than the outside. So guys will get cut in the gym, and in like 3 days it looks like it's healed, but it's really still damaged inside.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, it's not an open wound. I can go back to sparring, and they get hit again, and it cuts open again. It takes a long time for that stuff to heal internally.
And it becomes chronic.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to throw in, because there's a huge audience here, and I know as a fact a lot of them are fighters, is when you do get cut, don't let like the EMT or somebody just throw 3 quick stitches in there. Get that cut done by a get it done by a plastic surgeon. It makes a huge difference. Although that scar tissue comes from people letting. I've actually seen EMTs just, oh, I know how to do that, and they'll put 3 stitches in and not very nicely. So guys, when you get a really bad cut in a fight, go find a plastic surgeon. It's worth it.
Well, Kevin Ross, when he fought in Lion Fight, he was actually putting pictures on his Instagram of what a shitty job the doctor had done. They stapled him. The staple went in the cut. Like, instead of skin, the staple, this guy was fucking blind. Some old doctor or something stapled literally inside the cut instead of on the skin itself, around the cut, to pull the cut together. This fucking idiot stapled the cut.
And now a lot of times they just try to use glue. I cut myself in the winter from a fucking icicle because I live in New England. It fell on my
icicle cut you?
Yeah, my fucking dad wanted me to shovel his roof off because, like, they get water dams that damage. So we're just pushing the ladder up, and he bangs an icicle, and I just look up and fucking smashes me in the head. I turn around and scream, and then I look at him, and he's like, "You're fucking bleeding." I'm like, "What do you mean?" I grab my head, fucking blood pouring down my face everywhere. I'm like, "Holy shit." So I go to the bathroom, I put my hand on it, go to the bathroom, and there's a good cut. I see a lot of cuts in the gym, so I'm like, that thing fucking needs stitches. I'm like, "Dad, I gotta go, I need stitches." He's like, "No, put a Band-Aid on it, finish my roof, and then you can go to the ER." So I put a Band-Aid on it. I climb up the roof, shovel the roof, go to the ER, and they want to put glue in it. And I'm like, "I've seen a lot of stitches. Like, that, can you put stitches in my head?" He's like, "I think we can get away with just glue." I'm like, "Well,
get away?"
Well, I box. Like, I don't want it to. I want it to be really well closed. He's like, "No, I'm just gonna put glue in it." I'm like, "Can you please stitch it?" He's like, "Who's the doctor here?" And he just put glue in my head, and it's still a big scar there, and it's just not as. I don't think it's as healed as it would have been if he just.
What's his name? What's his name? This fuck.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, he's an arrogant asshole.
It was a Brockton hospital, so.
Oh well, Brockton blockbuster.
And the part
Rocky
of the
Marciano, Marvin Hagler.
Part of the story that Chris isn't telling you is that, like any good person from Lausanne MMA, the minute he got a head cut and he was bleeding all over the place, he did a selfie.
Oh, yeah.
When you walk into Lausanne MMA, they have this little wall of fame.
Yeah.
Anybody gets cut,
if I elbow a guy and he gets cut, I'll be like, don't wipe it off, don't touch it yet. We gotta take a picture first, and then we like address the wound and stuff.
Why?
I don't know. It's kind of like our wall of fame almost. You just put a Polaroid up.
You got to move out of Massachusetts, both of you.
South Shore.
You got to get out. There are too many animals there. It's just a hostile environment.
Joe even said it in an interview this week for his fight. He goes, "We're a bunch of pricks at my gym," and it's because we're all from the Northeast. They're all pricks.
Well, I went to your gym a long time ago. Eddie did a seminar there.
Yeah, our old gym. Yeah, I remember that.
Way back in the day.
We actually, we still have the toenail clippers you used, and we call them the Joe Rogan toenail clippers. I don't think anyone uses them anymore because they're like dull as shit now, but like, well, they're still sitting in a desk somewhere.
That's hilarious. Well, we were talking about this before. Like anybody who doesn't clip their nails, their fingernails and toenails before they grapple, that fucking sucks. They scratch the shit out of you.
Terrible.
You're talking about Nick the Tooth scratching your neck up.
Yeah, I think they still have a.
But listen, Nick the Tooth, cut your fucking nails, dude. I carry a toenail clipper everywhere. If I have a bag, I'm gonna work out. Plus, also to make a fist, even though like to punch the bag,
hit into your palm. It sucks.
Yeah, you don't want your fingernails digging into your fucking the meat of your hand.
Yeah, people who don't cut their fingernails and don't take showers before they roll are just bad, evil people.
Some people, when they fight, they do it on purpose. You could tell they fucking stink. Some people stink. When I interview them, I'm like, woo-hoo. You know they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah. Linlin told me he does it on purpose. No showers for like 5 days, and don't brush your teeth, and just get your armpit in the guy and breathe on him.
They call Tom Lawler filthy because he's filthy. Like it's not like a cute nickname. He's fucking filthy all the time, and just like eat food off the ground and not shower and just be gross. And that guy sweats like a motherfucker. So like he's always nasty.
What do you think about his knockout? That was crazy.
It was awesome.
Huh?
I was in the corner for that fight, and I'm like watching it from the corner. I'm like, shit, he's getting beat up pretty bad. That motherfucker is big.
Yeah.
Because he fought a 205er, and then I was way bigger. And I'm just sitting there like, oh, this is not going our way. And the round ends, we go in there, and John Wood, the syndicate guy, he's talking to him. He's like, you're doing all right. You're doing all right. Just stay in it. And then the second round starts, and he hits him with a hook, like from hell, like the best hook you could ever hit a guy with.
Well, he threw a few and missed before that.
The whole first round, he threw like 10. Yeah,
but no, that round, like right before he knocked him out, it wasn't like Valente shouldn't have seen it coming. Like he was throwing a lot of hooks, but Valente was convinced he was going to steamroll.
Yeah, he was running forward hard, and he ran right into it.
Into it. I mean, it was the perfect right hook. It was picture perfect on the button.
And that kid's strong. I mean, he hits fucking hard.
Oh, yeah, Valente's a big boy.
He's known as a wrestler, but no, Tom, too.
Oh, Tom,
he's physically one of the strongest guys I've ever been on the mat with.
Well, wrestlers are always strong. You grow up wrestling, you grow up throwing bodies around and manipulating bodies. Right. You develop a strength that's very unusual. Like Ben Askren, you look at that guy, he doesn't look strong. He looks like a regular guy. But you talk to people who roll with him, they're like, Jesus fucking Christ, is he strong.
Yeah, I read an interview with Pettis, and Pettis said he just tortures him on the mat.
Yeah, it's a different kind of strength.
Way with him.
Different kind of strength.
They've been throwing bodies around since they were 4 years old, and wrestling's grueling. I've gone to wrestling practices at like a D3 college program, and they're grueling practices for an hour and a half. Shoot across the mat for 20 minutes and drill. They just build functional muscle for years in that sport.
I found a guy at Iowa who did his PhD on the changes in wrestling rules over maybe a 50-year period or something. I read his thesis, and it was interesting. And you can see, they called them concession holds, not submissions, but it's the exact same thing. You could see year by year, decade by decade, they took out every dangerous hold from wrestling. But curiously or interestingly, by taking out every dangerous hold, it actually made wrestling better, because it's the one part of combat sports you can do as hard as you want and nothing gets broken. You can't do Muay Thai, you can't box 100% all the time. You sure can't put submissions and roll on you can't do jiu-jitsu on people 100%. But by virtue of having taken all the concession holds out of wrestling, you can wrestle a guy just as hard as you want, and nobody has to go to the hospital. And I think that's what makes wrestling so phenomenal. Is some of these guys start when they're 8 years old, and they go as hard as they humanly can for 20 years, and they're monsters.
Also, the mental toughness that they developed is a mental toughness that wrestlers possess, because also they're usually dehydrated, they're cutting weight, they're irritated, almost always overtrained, almost always. So you develop this ability to push through discomfort that a lot of people just don't have. You know, jiu-jitsu, you can go full blast, but you have to tap. And if guys don't tap, that's when problems occur. But you can certainly go full blast up until the moment when you have to concede. But, you know, a lot of people don't like to concede, and that's where the problem comes in. This is one of the dumbest things. People don't mind if someone scores a point on them in basketball, it seems normal. But if somebody taps you, it's like the end of your life because you're in a fight you would have lost. But guess what? That's the only fucking way you learn. Like, you have to put yourself in positions where you're going to tap, and you got to deal with that tap. And if you don't do it, you're never going to get good at it. And we've all known so many guys that come from kickboxing that for whatever reason, they got really good at one sport, and they never could get good at jiu-jitsu because they didn't want to roll with people who could tap them.
Yeah, I was like that. You know, I opened up an MMA gym, and way before I knew one single thing about the sport in '93, just a couple months after UFC 1. And for years and years and years, I just didn't want to tap. If some new guy came in, if he was a blue belt, that's when blue belts were kind of a big deal, I would lose my mind at the fear that the guy might tap me. And then I read an interview with Frank Shamrock, and he goes, "Oh, I tap all the time." And I was like, oh, Frank Shamrock taps. Oh, it's okay for me to tap. And that helped me a lot.
You ever seen Marcelo Garcia and Damian Maia roll?
No.
It's really interesting because they're tapping left and right.
Right, sure.
They tap each other left and right. And they're not even going full clip. They're sort of flowing. They're both so good. They're both such world champions. They don't have any ego at the on the line there. They're just trying to train hard and get their work in.
Have you guys seen the clip of Hyen and Henzo rolling?
Yeah.
It's my favorite rolling clip of all time on YouTube. It's in their brothers, so there's got to be that sibling rivalry. And in the end, Henzo catches him, but
I was actually talking to Big John last night about the same thing, and he's like, because he has a gym up in Valencia, which is pretty close to here, and he's like, when a guy comes into my gym for the first time, they're a little like starstruck, but they're close, they want to train jiu-jitsu, and he rolls with them, and he shakes hands like they're going to start, and he taps them 3 times. He's like, cool, you tap Big John, now let's have some fun. So they kind of get over that, like...
Oh, he lets them tap him.
Yeah, he just taps them on the shoulder, like taps out and quits before they even start, so they have that in their head, all right, I just tapped Big John, cool, now let's roll.
That doesn't even make sense.
Just to like kind of like break the pressure, I guess.
That's stupid.
It might be stupid, but this was last
Big
night.
John. Oh, Big John, how dare you?
I think after that, though, guys can't go after him. It's you get some guys, a football player or something, and he's good. And he's strong as hell.
Yeah.
He's a giant man.
Yeah.
He is a big man.
He's not medium, John.
And he's very good. He's not like this guy that, like, you say, oh, he trains jiu-jitsu. He trains, like, he's really good.
Were you guys in Vegas for UFC 189?
I wasn't. My brother was actually in there.
I saw the photos you guys put on the UG, put some good photos.
We did?
Yeah, didn't. Where are you guys getting your photos from? Like, when you have those photos on the front page where it says, like, MMA News, I go click on it right now, there's a bunch of photos. Where are you getting those? Dolce exclusive on IV Band. Where are you getting that photo?
That's probably a screenshot from some
screenshot from a video or Mike Dolce's Facebook.
Oh, we had a guy on the ground. We had a journalist out there for that. So
okay.
We got some like good interviews and stuff, but
Jonathan
we weren't actually
Schrager.
there. Yeah. He goes every now and then. He's an Irish guy. He's like, hey, I want to do some videos for you guys and go to shows. And we're like, we really can't afford it. It's fucking expensive to send a guy out and put him up. He's like, no, I just want to go. I'll just do it on my own dime. We're like, cool. Go out there. Have fun. We get credentialed, so that's all he wants from us, really.
UFC 189 was probably one of the craziest events I've ever been to ever.
I believe it.
UFC 189, I wasn't there live. I saw it on a big flat screen, but it was one of those few times that I'm like, it was the Rory Robbie fight where I looked at the screen at one point and Rory looked like he didn't have a nose. Like, I'm looking on the high def screen and there was no nose there. And it was one of the very few times I've just been like, I'm not sure I want to watch this. It was just too intense.
That was one of the most intense title fights ever. Rory McDonald he got so close to winning that title. He had Robbie Lawler almost knocked out. He head kicked him, dinged him. Robbie was wobbling, and then Robbie came back to stop him in the next round, and his nose exploded, and he literally went down in pain, and you could see him writhing on the floor, and it looked like he was just trying to find some comfort. Like, the pain was so intense from that broken nose that he was just trying to find some kind of comfort. Blood was everywhere, and it was just two guys that pushed themselves to the brink. And unfortunately, when you see a fight, what is that? Can you go to the bathroom? Is that what you're saying? Just ask.
All right.
Go ahead. Go to the bathroom. Jesus Christ. You're your dad. Guy's drinking over here. Chris Palmquist is the only one drinking here. Throwing down the booze. Checking his fucking Twitter every 5 minutes. But it was a sport, or it was a fight rather, with these, like, you see him here like writhing in agony, like here. Like, that is so hard to deal with. I mean, he's just looking at him. He's like, oh, he just goes down. I mean, he's just in agony. I mean, it's one of the most intense moments I've ever seen in a fight, of just like the most obvious expression of pain. I mean, look at him here. It's crazy.
He's never going to be the same.
He might not ever be the same. Yeah, and by the way, Robbie too. That was a crazy fucking fight.
But Rory said the next day that was the greatest day of his life.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
That's what kind of that's the man he is.
Yeah, I mean, he fought his heart out. There was nothing left for both of them. They were so closely matched. Such a good fight. And Robbie, how about when he's screaming in victory and his lip is split open like a cleft palate? His lip is split open, this giant gash in his lip. Like, look at him. There's a sideways photo where you see like a profile picture of him roaring with his lip split open, and it's just hard to believe that this guy's, you know, that he fought like that. He fought with his lip split wide open. There's a better picture of it, Jamie, if you find it. It's like a sideways angle of the side where you see the actual cut itself. But it was one of the most gruesome lip injuries I've ever seen. And, you know, this is the guy who won. Those guys, there it is.
There
right
it is. Oh, Dana apparently walked up from that side right there and said, "Oh my God, don't talk. Don't say a word."
Yeah, I mean, his lip was literally just a giant slice. Like you got hit with a hatchet in the face. It was crazy. It was a crazy, crazy, crazy fight. And one of the most intense, closely matched title fights in the welterweight division's history.
Right?
Yeah, ever. It was about down to the wire. I mean, it's really the kind of fight that everybody always wanted from GSP. But GSP's fights were always really tactical. He was really smart about when to take guys down. And people would get mad at, like, the way GSP would fight. You know, they would say, oh, he's just outpointing these guys. Like, but that's the only way you get out with your fucking head intact.
Yeah, right. Not being fucked up for the rest of your life.
This is what fighting is. I mean, what is fighting? Is fighting two guys hitting each other until one guy goes down? Or is fighting figuring out how to not get hit? I mean, the smart guys figure out how to not get hit as much. You're always going to get hit. There's no way around it. But get hit the least amount possible. And I don't understand people that get mad at that. I really don't. Like, what do you have? I always want to say, has anybody ever hit you? Do you understand what these guys are trying to do? Right? They're trying to not get hit. Yeah. It's a big part of this whole thing. Don't get hit. It's a giant part.
My sense is, if I watch, I never played football in my life, and I barely know the rules. And when I watch football, I personally cannot appreciate their athleticism because I don't know what's going on. I know that NFL players are probably the best athletes in the whole world, but I can't see it because I don't know the sport. My sense is there's a lot of MMA fans that just don't understand the artistry that goes on there, the timing it takes to take somebody down, and all the nuances of defense. And I think if they did know it, they would love watching. I love GSP fighting as a fight clinic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, look at that guy for 30 seconds, and I pick up something I didn't know before. I love watching the guy fight. But if I didn't know much about the sport, I'd be like, just why don't you guys hit each other and give each other a bloody nose? It's more exciting.
Well, that's what a lot of people felt about the Manny Pacquiao-Floyd Mayweather fight. A lot of people were mad at that fight.
Yeah, they call it boring.
Like, hit him. Like, you don't think he's trying? I mean, it's a fixed fight. They fucking made a decision to not hit each other. Oh, my God. It's just that stupid conversation that you have with people that don't understand the sport. And why doesn't he just do... Oh, gee, you shut the fuck up. Why doesn't he just... Well, you should be coaching.
Yeah, it's the fan in the crowd. Punch him in the face. Like, that's good advice. No shit, I'm trying to punch him in the face.
I'm excited by the next level athletes and the next level ability that you're seeing in the sport that I think TJ Dillashaw shows, like those kind of guys. I think you're going to see a guy like eventually who can move and strike like TJ but kicks like Edson Barboza. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to see that with a guy who could wrestle like Johnny Hendricks. You're going to see that with a guy who could submit guys like Damian Maia. Like, right now, we're still in this growth stage. We haven't hit the critical mass yet. We haven't hit that one where we see the perfect Michael Jordan of MMA. They don't exist yet. I think you're starting to see glimpses of these possibilities. And what TJ showed this weekend, I think, is a great glimpse of that possibility. And that's what excites me about fighting. Like, people think, oh, you're a fucking meathead. You like watching people beat the shit out of each other. And it's like, I get it. I look like a meathead. You know, I sound like a meathead. It's a crazy sport being a cage fighting commentator. It's a crazy sport to be a part of. People would assume that you're like some sort of an uncivilized fuckhead. But my take on it is that we only live for a short amount of time anyway. You live and you die. And there are extreme, exciting things that you can do with your life if you so choose to. I think fighting is one of those things. And I think at the very highest level, what it is problem solving. It's intense consequence problem solving. And when you're looking at a guy like TJ Dillashaw, he has created this problem solving solution with Dwayne Ludwig. And their problem-solving solution involves incredible athleticism, amazing determination, and a fanatical coach who has a deep, deep understanding of movement and striking in a way that I don't think any other coaches have. The way Dwayne teaches his guys is so different. I've worked out with him, man. He's on another level. Like, he's all fucking Asperger's out when you're talking to him. He gets crazy OCD, ADD, whatever the fuck it is. But he's starts rattling out. I've watched him and TJ hit mitts together too.
Sure.
You watch him rattle out information, like the intensity level and the amount of data that they're crunching and processing, and how much thought is behind every single movement. You know, a lot of guys, when they throw punches, like you say, you throw a 1-2, you'll sort of move a little bit forward with the jab, and then you rotate the shoulders and the hips to throw the right hand. Dwayne has the moving. He's got, you move with the left, you move with the right. You're and after you throw that right hand, you're moving again, and you're throwing a left hook. You're moving again when you're throwing the right hand. You're not just rotating your shoulders, you're stepping in or you're stepping back. There's all these movements, and when you see it in the Barao fight, especially that final flurry, I mean, that's some shit from a fucking movie, man. I mean, he's going left and right and left and right. He's not in front of him Vitor Trey Teligman, you know, ba 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 ba. No, he's boom, boom, sidestep, boom, boom, sidestep, boom, boom, sidestep,
Yeah, it's
boom,
like
boom.
Matrix shit.
And Barao's fucking seeing a fireworks display at Disneyland, and he's throwing these, his arms aren't working for him, and he's throwing these hooks just trying to stay alive, and just pop, 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 pop. He's just getting lit up like a Christmas tree. It was beautiful to watch. It's next level shit, you know?
Yeah, I agree 100%. One of my heroes in the sport is Andre Pederneiras. I think he's my hero, first of all, because he, as far as I understand it, he was the first guy to bring poor kids into jiu-jitsu and into mixed martial arts. It was a rich kid sport, and he would, I mean, you look at all the top guys from his gym, they didn't have any money when they showed up there. They'd live on the mats there, and he played sort of an avuncular or father role, and he brought him up, and then he sent himself to learn striking. He went to Holland and he learned Dutch kickboxing, and then he welded world-class jiu-jitsu with Dutch kickboxing. Dutch kickboxing is like Western boxing, and plus Muay Thai kicks and some karate kicks, and then a bunch of combinations. In short, that's what it is. And he learned it. He put those two together, and he created guys like Barao and like Jose Aldo. But now there's another step, and it's that Bang Ludwig game.
Yeah, the next level shit. It really is an interesting thing to watch. It's an interesting thing to watch the progress. It's so fascinating because, again, if you look back at football from like the 1960s, if you look back and you watch some of the great players that played, you know, throughout history, you will see better athletes today than you see then. But the game is recognizable. If you go back and watch UFC 1 from 1993, I mean, go back and watch a Marvin Hagler fight from 1988, you know, or 1985. Watch Hagler fight Mustafa Hamsho, or, you know.
That was a great fight.
Great fight. Watch him fight, you know, anybody. Watch him fight anybody from that era. And then watch a really good boxing match today, and you'll see the same thing. You're seeing the same sport.
Yeah, same sport.
I mean, you might see a guy in Floyd Mayweather who has it down to a science, and I think personally, as far as boxing, I think Floyd Mayweather is the best boxer ever, because I think he gets hit the least, he moves the best, and he shuts guys down the most. You don't have to like him as a person. You might think he's a douchebag or whatever, but I think as far as like being a skillful boxer, it's my personal opinion. I mean, I got in an argument with Max Kellerman was telling me Sugar Ray Robinson is the best. I'm like, Maybe. Do you think that? Do you think Jake LaMotta would beat Floyd Mayweather? I think you're fucking crazy if you believe that. I don't think Jake LaMotta would lay a glove on him. I just don't. I don't believe that would happen. I just don't see it happening. I think if they were the same weight class, I think Floyd Mayweather would fucking pot shot Jake LaMotta and tie him up and cut angles on him and move away from him on the ropes. I just think he's better. I think, yeah, Ray Robinson might have fought more times and fought more people and went all the way up to light heavyweight and all that jazz, but I think Floyd's the best. But when you look at Ray Robinson's fights, it's recognizable. It's the same sport. It's the same sport. There's a little bit of a difference, a little more plotting. They fought a little different. They stood in the pocket a little bit more. But Jesus Christ, you look at the difference between MMA from 93, go to 95. Look at MMA from 20 years ago and look at it now. It's not the same thing at all. You watched TJ Dillashaw's fight the other night and tell me there was anybody that he was even remotely similar to that just 10 years ago.
Yeah,
forget about 20.
Not even close.
It's amazing.
I was talking with my, I'm the records keeper for MMA, and my counterpart, the records keeper for boxing, is Andy Miramontes. And 2-3 years ago, I was talking with Andy and John McCarthy. And McCarthy was talking about the fact that he owns a gym and he rolls with all the athletes and stuff. And Andy Miramontes got kind of a weird look in his face, and he goes, "Wait a minute, you roll with these people?" Because in boxing, you have to keep a distance, a separation between the officials and the athletes. And what McCarthy said is this sport is evolving all the time, and I can't do my job unless I'm in there actually rolling with the people. And then he showed him a go-go plata. And Annie, the boxing guy, was like, "Oh, that's unbelievable." And at the several years ago, the go-go plata was a fairly new move, and he just threw that out as an example of how boxing basically stays the same. So if you're a records keeper or you're a referee, you are refereeing and officiating a sport that's been the same for 50 years, basically. You don't have to know all the new things in it. And MMA is just changing all the time. And if you're an official involved in the sport, you've got to be on the mats every week, or something's going to be coming up that you've never seen before.
Yeah, in jiu-jitsu, there's always some new move that someone figures out. There's always something, some new way to do a choke, some new way to lock an armbar in or attack a leg. That combination that Jamie just put up on the big screen, this is TJ's final flurry against Renan Barão. You show me a painting that anybody ever made that looks better than this. Look at this, the way he just did that, the way he's moving on him. And look, every time he's punching, he stands in front of him, he lands shots, and then he moves. Boom, moves to the left, moving to the right. Look, every time he's throwing these punches, he's moving. I mean, this is like a sponge, next-level athlete, and a kid like TJ Dillashaw, super dedicated, got a perfect mind for the sport, that became best friends with a fucking maniac like Dwayne Ludwig, who's a world champion kickboxer, who showed him how to do it.
And it's exactly how they did it in the locker room. I was actually back there watching them warm up, and that's exactly how they move when they warm up. And he executes it exactly how Bang wants him to.
Look at that animated GIF. Like, look at this movement. I mean, it's fucking incredible. I mean, look at that. That is insane. And right in front of him, bing, and then slides just out of the way of the counter strikes. This is incredible shit, man. I mean, I don't think there's been a guy in the sport that moves that good. And what's really incredible is Dwayne never moved like that. Dwayne's teaching him some shit that he figured out that he didn't even do himself. I mean, Dwayne was a great kickboxer, but Dwayne was way more linear in his movements. Like, what TJ's doing is some really crazy shit that Dwayne sort of figured out that TJ can do.
And maybe the craziest thing about it is TJ does have a base in something else. He started off, obviously, as a wrestler. There's a whole new generation coming up that were on the swim team or they played hockey or something. They don't have any base in any sort of a thing. All they're learning from the get-go is mixed martial arts. Guys like Joe Proctor out of Chris's gym was a hockey player in high school and walked into the gym and never done any kind of combat sport all his life. And I think with the whole next generation of Joe Proctors is going to throw up stuff I can barely imagine.
Well, there's a school of thought that the best way is actually not that way, but rather the best way is to get really fucking good at one thing, to get like really good at kickboxing, and then dedicate yourself to learning MMA. So you will always have this advantage in the striking, because we all know that to get really incredibly good at something almost requires like a singular dedication.
Sure.
Like although TJ is one of the world's best mixed martial arts fighters for sure, he's probably not one of the world's best strikers. If you put him in like Glory and you put him up against like one of the Andy Risti or one of those like really high level Muay Thai guys, he might not be able to beat those guys. But when it comes to putting all that shit together, he's one of the best at it. But if you get a guy like Andy Risti, who learns all the shit that he's doing, that TJ's learning, then he will have an advantage over TJ, at least in that one aspect of the game. Whereas TJ will always have an advantage over him in wrestling, because that's his base. There's an interesting schools of thought there that some people think that it's best to learn everything from the get-go, like a Rory McDonald. Yeah. And some people think it's better to be like a Damian Maia, where you come in, you have this one insane discipline, the world-class Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then everything else you got to kind of learn to go with it. But worst case scenario, you could always take it to that place, and you'll have this giant advantage over everyone else. Like, do you remember when Damian Maia took Rick Story down? Like, Rick Story's this fucking beast of a wrestler. Super strong guy. But Damian Maia took him down, smushed him, transitioned to his back, and squoze his fucking head like a zit. And I remember watching it going, holy shit, I never saw anybody do that to Rick Story before. But it's that next level jiu-jitsu that he has that no one else has, or that, very few.
I've watched that tape. I don't know how he did it.
He did the same thing to Ed Herman. Ed Herman was a Team Quest guy, good wrestler, and he's like, taking him down, mounted him, triangled him, right? Mounted triangle and finished him like this. It was like when Damian Maia went on that like 3-fight submission streak where he just ran through guys.
What about Chael Sonnen? Remember when he lateral dropped him?
Yeah.
He lateral dropped him, went right into a mounted triangle and tapped him. It's like, what the fuck? And just to take Chael down like that, too, to just fucking throw him like a rag doll, it was crazy. He's a next level grappler. But, when he fought Anderson, like, good luck. You couldn't even catch him. But Anderson, that was a crazy fight. That was the one in Abu Dhabi where Anderson came out guns blazing for like the first 2 rounds and then just took off.
Just died, yeah.
Just stopped fighting for the last 3.
As I understand it, that was a class warfare thing. The play, you kept taunting him and calling him Playboy. And I asked a Brazilian, why you call him a Playboy? Is that like it's kind of a compliment to call somebody a Playboy, I think, in the States. And he said, it means kind of like a rich kid who's not too serious. And, obviously Anderson Silva was raised by his uncle. His uncle was a cop, and his parents didn't have any money at all, didn't have the money to raise their own son, gave him to the cop. And even the cop, I don't think, had a whole ton of money. So he came up poor. And I think that's where all the chute box guys came from, was poor neighborhoods. And so that there was some rivalry there. And I think that's what was going on, is he knew he could beat him up, but just wanted to rough up the rich kid, the preppy kid.
It was crazy, but it was real weird to watch because it didn't make any sense, because Damian Maia was never really a shit talker. He's a gentleman. So to see Anderson like screaming at him and then not fighting for the last 3 rounds, like that whole arena they were so pissed. Because this was a huge event in Abu Dhabi, and it was right after Sheikh Taknoon had bought 10% of the UFC. It was kind of embarrassing for them to have that event there and have the greatest fighter in the world at the time, Anderson, fight this guy in Damian Maia, who's well-respected, and people thinking this was going to be some sort of a crazy war, and then Anderson just doesn't fight for the last 3 rounds. Just moved around.
I remember afterwards Dana White said, if he does that again, I'm going to fire him. I was like, oh my God, sweet Jesus, he's the greatest fighter in the world, and that fight was so bad you're going to fire him?
Isn't that crazy? That's crazy talk. How do you do that? You can't really fire somebody.
Can't really fire a guy. But
winning.
Oh, for winning, no.
He won.
But do that and lose? Watch out.
Well, Anderson is a crazy sort of special example of a guy who had this aura of invincibility. Everybody thought he was just indestructible until he met Weidman. And Weidman just smashed him. And then all of a sudden, he's not the same guy anymore. Like, you see him in the Nick Diaz fight, when Nick Diaz fell to the ground and, like, put his hands up like he was sleeping because he was bored with him. He's taunting him, and you could see Anderson was fucking with his head to the point where after the fight was over, Anderson fell to the ground and was crying after he beat Nick Diaz. I mean, he's weeping, openly weeping. I was standing over him while I was doing it. He was openly weeping just because it was so much pressure to get through it because of those 2 fights with Weidman. Like, Weidman stole something from him. He just beat him when he knocked him out, and then the second fight when he broke his leg. Well, he didn't just beat him. He, like, stole all of his confidence. He stole who he was as a champion. those moments are crazy because before that, when he fought Stephan Bonner in Brazil and put his back up against the cage, he's like, come on, try to hit me. And they just moved out of the way and then blasted him with a knee to the body and then took him out and then jumped up on the cage and all the Brazilians went crazy. I was like, who's better than that guy? Who the fuck is going to beat that guy? Meanwhile, Chris Weidman was watching the whole thing at home, not impressed.
Not impressed at all.
It's crazy. It's crazy how that happens. How we get this idea in our head, whether it's a Mike Tyson or an Anderson Silva or anybody, we get this idea in our head that you can never be beat. And it's one of the great things about this any sport, like especially fighting, is that you know there's gonna come a day. Sometimes you're the hammer, and sometimes you're the nail. There's gonna come a day when you're the nail, bitch. You know, you better get ready for it, or you better get out like George St. Pierre did.
Right.
And he's been the nail, you know? He's been the nail with Matt Serra. It's going to happen.
The mental game, I think, is way underappreciated. And it hit me when I was a kid. I learned that Sir Roger Bannister, the first man to break the 4-minute mile, everybody thought you couldn't break the 4-minute mile, and he finally did it. And once he did it, within like 60 days, 4 other guys did it because they knew it could be done.
Right.
And then when you have an idea in your head in sports, but particularly in combat sports, whether it's I'm invincible or I'm going to beat this guy or whatever, when you have that idea in your head, it's actually physiologically really, really powerful. But that got taken away from Anderson Silva. He realized he was not, in fact, invincible. And then I think life's a lot tougher for him now.
It's way tougher.
Still my hero.
I think that's why a guy like McGregor right now, he literally thinks he's invincible, and it's that power of his mentality that pushes. He literally thinks he can't lose. He can call his fights, call the round, and he does it because he's so confident. It's not that he believes it; he knows it in his own head. And it's powerful. It carries him through, just destroying these guys. That Chad Mendes is a good fighter.
Chad Mendes is way out of shape for that fight. Let's be honest about things. First of all,
True.
Chad Mendes and Urias stated this, and Dwayne Ludwig said the same thing when I talked to him. Chad takes time off in between fights. He likes to go hunting. He likes to spend time doing other shit. And for him to accept a fight like that on 2 weeks' notice, he did it because he thought he was going to be able to win anyway. But if you gave Chad Mendes a full camp, if you gave Chad Mendes 6 to 8 weeks and, you know, really let him know, 3 months preferable, it would be a different fight. It'd be a very different fight. As long as he wasn't injured, and, you know, Conor actually was injured going into that fight. He had something wrong with his knee. He was getting stem cell injections in his knee.
Yeah, I had heard that like 8 weeks before the fight.
Yeah.
Chris told me that a couple months.
A lot of people knew about that. Bookies were talking about it. But Chad just didn't have the win. It was really obvious. It was also obvious he wasn't prepared for that kind of fucking movement. I mean, it takes a long time to get ready for a guy who can kick like Conor can. You know, and Conor's long and big for 145. He fucking sucks a lot of weight. I don't know what the number is, but I know that when he was there on weigh-in day, he looked like Skeletor.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked like total starvation. And then the next day, he looked big again. You know, he probably put on.
I wouldn't be shocked if he was 170 in the cage, 25 pounds.
He walks around at 170.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was that big in the cage. I've known guys that have cut that much weight and put it all right back on.
So crazy.
I mean, even the guys that don't cut a lot, the 55ers, they're still 68, 69. They don't even have hard cuts. And
what about Gleison Tebow?
Oh, geez. He's like 190 in the cage. He's gigantic.
He fights at 155, and he's fucking huge. I mean, he is a goddamn superhero. He doesn't even look like a real person when he gets in that cage. He's just so muscular and thick, and just it doesn't make any sense.
I actually have no idea how he does it. It's too much.
And
he competes, though.
Oh,
like, he doesn't like gas because of it. He has a gas tank on. Usually there's guys that get sucked down a lot. They got the good round in them, and they kind of tire. But Tebow can fight 3-5s, no problem, being that gigantic after a huge weight cut.
Yeah, well, biodiversity is a real thing. Some people just have abilities that other people just don't have. Like Cain Velasquez has always had this incredible ability to have this phenomenal cardio. You know, which was so ironic. Here's another example of a guy you think is invincible, and then Fabricio Verdum literally out-cardioed Cain by training really hard and doing a lot of cardio at 8,000 feet above elevation, above sea level. And Cain just thought, hey, I got the best cardio in the sport. I don't even need to go to Mexico early. So they're fighting in Mexico City as heavyweights at 7,500 feet above sea level. Super high altitude. Ridiculous for heavyweights. And Fabricio had been training 1,000 feet above that. And he really prepared. He really got ready for it. And then you see Cain gassing. And you see Cain gassing in that second round. I was like, I don't even fucking believe what I'm seeing. Cain Velasquez is exhausted. He's going back to his corner on rubbery legs, and he's taking these big, heaving, deep breaths. I'm like, I've never seen this from him before.
The UFC had one of their, I don't know if it was an embedded or some kind of a little video that they shot of Verdum in his camp, and I saw he was sleeping on the floor. They showed he had 4 fighters in the room, and he just had a tiny little, it wasn't even a cot, he just had a pallet on the floor. And I looked at that, I looked at the elevation, I was like, this guy's going to win. He's sleeping on the floor for 2 months at a time. He's at elevation. He's going to win this fight.
You could sleep on the floor all day long. Chris Weidman will still punch your fucking face in. He'll have a nice comfy bed, wake up with his little fucking footy pajamas on and beat the shit out of you. I don't know if that helps.
We were just talking about Weidman. We were trying to figure out exactly why he's so dominant, and we don't have any genius answers
His
to
brother
it.
beat him up. His brother beat him up all his life. His brother brutalized him. His dad's an NFL player. His brother was an animal, and his brother bullied him. And I think when you grow up like that, you're constantly defending yourself against your brother. I think that's one of the reasons why Matt Hughes was so dominant. Him and his brother used to beat the fuck out of each other. I think that's one of the reasons why John Jones is such a badass. Him and his brothers are all super athletes, and they beat the fuck out of each other. I think that is super normal. I think when you develop in a household where you're constantly competing with your own brother, and in Weidman's case, his brother was older than him. His brother was older and bigger. And there's some like bad stories that came out of that too. Like he had to go to the hospital once. I think his brother dropped a weight plate on his head.
Jesus.
I don't know if that's a true story, but that's what
I
I've
believe that in
heard.
a second. My brother and I have caused bloody wounds more than once growing up. But he still ended up a pussy. I don't understand. Like, he got beat up his whole
He's
life.
right here, and he doesn't have a mic. This is so fucked up.
It's so wrong.
Well, I just think that there's an advantage in that, a psychological advantage in not being afraid, because you're constantly going to war with your own brother. You know, you just develop a steel, hardened sense of competition where you're just ready to go. You're ready to go. I'm ready to go right now, motherfucker. You ready to go? You know, like you have this. Well, like when Chris Weidman got in Anderson Silva's face when they first waited, and Anderson Silva walked up to him and kissed him, like he pressed face, and Weidman didn't move. And Anderson staring at him and say, "We'll see you tomorrow." He goes, "Hey, I'm not afraid of you, motherfucker." That's what he said. He goes, "I'm not afraid of you." And you could see in his eyes, like it wasn't like, "I'm not afraid of you, man." Like there's no craziness. It was just a real calm. "I'm not afraid of you, man. I'm not afraid of you." And Weidman was like, "Tomorrow we will see. We will see." Yeah. But looking even there, you see how goddamn big Weidman is.
Yeah, he's big.
And this is when he weighed in at 185. You know, the amount of weight that guy cuts, I don't know how much it is, but it's not a small amount. It's multiple pounds, because when he fought Damian Maia, that was a fight that he had to take on Fox on very short notice, and he sucked a tremendous amount of weight to fight that fight, and he was just absolutely drained and exhausted because of it. Even when they put the water back on him, one of the things that Ray Longo said in between the corner, he said, "I saw what you did yesterday to make weight. If you did that, you could fucking do anything. Now go out there and kick his ass." Like, he had to say that to Weidman when Weidman was exhausted.
So I didn't realize how strong Weidman was until he did that helicopter knee bar on Anderson Silva, and that blew my mind as much as anything I've ever seen in a fight. Lorenzo Fertitta talks about how the whole sport is based on holy fucking shit moments. Because every single UFC, at some point, something's going to happen that makes you go, holy fucking shit, and that's the heart of the sport. For me, it was when he did that helicopter knee bar on Anderson Silva. I'm like, really? You're trying to knee bar him? And he, got kind of close. That's when I realized this. Mentally is just at another level.
He wasn't scared of taking him down. He knew he could take him down. Well, what got me was the Vitor fight. When he shot on Vitor, that was such a deep double. And when he shot on him and clasped his hands together, I'm like, no one's defending this. He's not defending this. And then once he got Vitor to the ground, the difference between, first of all, the Vitor that fought Rockhold, and the Vitor that fought Bisping, I mean, he's just not the same dude. You take away the TRT.
TRT gone.
No testosterone injections, and he's just this fucking regular guy. He actually is at a deficit because his body has really low testosterone as opposed to a normal 36, 37-year-old man. His body, I mean, he's been taking that shit for so long. I mean, if you go back to the Randy Couture fight, like we were talking about before, it was 240 pounds. He's been messing with his system and hyperhuman levels for so long that his regular endocrine system is probably really fucked up. That's also the fight where Weidman got in his face at the weigh-ins, and he was yelling at him about the levels that he showed in camp, because his levels in camp were 3 times higher than Weidman's. The level that they
But
test him on.
acceptable, right? Just
It's
higher?
acceptable.
Yeah.
It was under the limit, but it was 1,200. And this is a guy that needed testosterone replacement. I mean, it's all...
Something wasn't right.
And Weidman was like, you're fucking juicing. You're fucking juicing. He goes, I know you're fucking juicing in camp. And he goes, I'm going to make you pay for it. I'm going to punish you for this tomorrow. And you could see Vitor's eyes were like, oh. And he said something to him. I couldn't hear what he said to him. So I asked Weidman what he said, and, and he just was going off about the levels. He goes, I knew something was wrong with his levels. He goes, I'm busting my ass. I'm 10 years younger than him, and I'm testing at 300. And that's what happens to guys in camp. They break down. I mean, you're going through these 2 and 3 a days, and you're just goddamn exhausted. You're just trying to push through it just to keep your conditioning high. And when he found out the Vitor's level, he was so angry. And you could he was so fucking angry. And then he did punish him for it. When he got him down,
he beat him up bad.
He beat him up bad. That was a bad beatdown. I never saw Vitor in that sort of a position either, mounted like that with just no hope of getting up.
Yeah, wanting to be out of there.
Yeah, there it is.
So hopeless, he was punching up, which we know doesn't work. From
Nobody
the bottom
does.
of the
I mean,
mount.
that shit never works.
That shit worked in
He was just flailing, like he was trying to hit him back, and Weidman was just smashing him, just boom, boom.
And look
boom.
at his face. He's just so like.
See if you can get a video, Jamie, of the final flurry. It's awful. But it's also like Vitor's body when he got into the cage, like all this loose skin. It was weird. It was weird to see. It's like he looked like a welterweight. Like he could be welterweight, like easy. If he could stay off the shit, he could be a 170, like, and not a big one. You compare him to like Brandon Thatch. Like Thatch is a big welterweight.
Or like Anthony Johnson when he made welterweight.
Oh!
Holy shit!
That didn't even make sense.
He made it once, I think, for sure.
Made it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, he made it 3 or 4 times.
A couple times he missed it. But.
And now he has to cut weight to get light heavyweight.
Chris and I were at Mask's funeral, and that was the first time I'd met him in person. And it's one of the most. He was like 240. It was one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen.
If you were at Mask's funeral, I was there too. So we saw each other.
Yeah.
You remember that fucking blowhard speech that director went up and gave that Mask died on a certain day so that he could promote the movie? Do you remember that shit?
I do remember that guy, and I heard he barely even knew him. That they were not best friends, or I just assumed it was a best friend, and he was distraught, and that's why he was being a blowhard.
The guy shouldn't even been able to talk at the funeral.
No,
I mean, that's how little you
not.
know him. And he went up and gave this unbelievably ridiculous Hollywood speech of Mask dying at a... I was wondering, why did he die at this time? And then I realized he died so that he could promote our movie, which is coming out June 20...
Hollywood.
It was so gross.
It's Hollywood.
Yeah, it was gross.
It was so gross. Like you heard like you heard it like all throughout the room. Like all these people going, oh fucking Christ! But it was one of those things where no one could say anything because you're trying to be respectful because it's at this funeral. And then like Dan punk ass went up and told like a real heartfelt thing, and you could tell like that was his really good friend and a brother, and he was really broken up and like. Tim went up and he was really broken up, and this guy goes up and gave this fucking disgusting speech.
Yeah, it was
How
terrible.
disgusting! I mean, like on a 1 to 10, it was a 10.
It was
right?
It was always a 10.
It was a 10.
Oh yeah, that was perfectly disgusting. And I just assumed that he was being so inappropriate because he was broken up inside. And I asked a couple of people, like, they were acquaintances.
He's just a fraud, just one of those Hollywood frauds.
Who were the 2 guys that tried to fight at the dinner afterwards? Like 2 guys that were in the UFC. Maybe I won't name names, but 2 guys in the UFC. We were to dinner, but it's still like a somber experience. We just came from the funeral, and 2 guys in the UFC almost got into a fight at dinner, like yelling and screaming at each other. And someone just set up, like, guys, sit the fuck down. You're at the memorial dinner. Like, relax. Jesus.
It's so crazy. Some people can't let it go. There's no safe place.
I'm pretty sure they never fought to this day, though, because I think they're in different weight classes now. But
Here's the final thing with Vitor and Weidman. Vitor's trying to hit him. Vitor had him hurt. He hit him with a couple good shots, and Chris stayed right in front of him and took the shot. And then once he got him down, he just started smashing him. Moved into full mount and just beat the fuck out of him. Here we go. Boom, 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 boom. Just brutalized him.
It's an old line. But you talk about punch a black belt once and he's a brown belt and so on. And
Yeah.
Vitor just got punched into being a white belt.
Well, I don't know, how good Vitor's just straight ground game is. I've never seen him roll jiu-jitsu with like a high-level guy. I've never seen it. I saw him almost catch. He almost caught John Jones with an armbar, but John kind of wasn't respecting his ground game. He's just kind of leaving it out there. It wasn't like a difficult armbar to catch. I mean, any purple belt who's worth his salt could have got that same kind of armbar if a guy's like doing that with his arm. But I would love to see, like, you hear about guys like this guy's a black belt, that guy's a black belt. Like, what level are they really? Like in a real jiu-jitsu sense,
It used to be like 10 years ago, you heard black belt. You're like, this guy's got to be amazing.
Yeah, right.
And now you hear black belt, and you're like, well, what kind of black belt?
Right,
like,
exactly.
Because there are black belts and there are black belts.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
like
there's
the Marcelo Garcias of the world.
Sure.
Like fucking Jesus.
The Jean-Jacques of the world. There's black belts that just can chew up other black belts. And then there's black belts who tap other black belts. Like
Sure.
Compredo got tapped by Hodger Gracie at that the UFC event. They have the
the
grappling
Expo one,
thing.
yeah.
The Expo. But look, Compredo is obviously like super high level black belt, but Hodger Gracie is another level. That's another level. And like it's hard to explain that to people when they say like, well, this guy's a black belt and that guy's a black belt. Well, here's the deal. That guy could do anything he wants to me, but that guy could do anything he wants to him. Like there's levels. There's levels to this shit.
Levels.
And it's hard to wrap you can't really quantify it as like black or purple or red or it's like
Sure.
at a certain point in time it's just a matter of what that's Hodger Gracie and this is just all there is to it.
Because I've rolled with black belts, and I'm like pretty competitive. And then I've rolled with the higher end guys, and I feel like I never learned jiu-jitsu.
Roll with Eddie tonight.
I've rolled with Eddie before.
Wonderful time.
Yeah, I'll roll with him. So I can't wait to get fucking tortured by him. I've rolled with Eddie before a couple times out here.
Wonderful time getting
He's actually the one that
tied
fucked
up
all
in a
my
fucking
ears
night.
up.
Did
And
he?
he's completely responsible for my ears, all the cauliflower.
No.
100%.
No.
I didn't have cauliflower for 7 years. I had a fight.
Because his high guard is so tight.
I had a fight, and I got hit a couple times, so my ears were sore. I came to L.A. for like a month. I trained with Eddie a lot. And the first night, he just put me in his rubber guard and just shins rubbing across my ears for like 4 hours. And I left, and they were fucking like, they were like out like
Dumbo.
here.
Why didn't you drain them?
I didn't know about draining them back then. This was like, I had no idea. I'm like,
How did you not know about draining
I don't know.
ears?
It was like 2005.
They were doing that in the 50s.
I don't know. I never wrestled though.
There's a Roman statue. Have you seen the statue of a gladiator with cauliflower ear that's leaking? It's got a cut
Really?
on the cauliflower ear, and there's drops coming out of the ear.
So I have like ears like this, and the next night I go to Big John's gym, and he looks at me and goes, "Holy fuck, your ears are big!" And he's like, "You want me to drain them?" I'm like, "I don't know what that means." And he's like, "Come with me," and he takes me into the back and like gets a needle out and drains my ears, and they go down, but I never got them like cut out and stitched, so they're just fucking big now.
Well, they could fix that too. My friend Brent had his ears cut open. They fillet them like a salmon, and they get in there and they scrape out all the cartilage.
Sure.
I had that shit in my nose.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I always wear ear guards, so my ears are okay. I have like a little bit of cauliflower, a few spots, but most of it is fine. But my nose had been broken so many times that what cauliflower ear is when your skin breaks and it fills up with blood. The blood remains in the skin, and then it calcifies. So when the blood is trapped under the surface of the skin, it bulges up in like that little hematoma or whatever you would call it. That blood becomes hard. It calcifies and literally becomes like a stone in your body. That's why cauliflower ears are hard as a rock.
Right.
Because they are a rock.
Yeah.
It's a calcium rock. So what they can do is they cut you open and then they scrape that stuff out and then they stitch you back up. There's the Roman statue. I think it's Roman. It might be Greek. Is it Roman or Greek? It says Roman. See those cuts and it's leaking. I mean, that's crazy. It's cauliflower ear. They had it back then.
Well, not only did they have cauliflower ear back then, but an MD in New York saw this, and he's pretty confident that that's actually draining an ear. It wasn't just the guy got hit in the ear and he had a cauliflower and he was bleeding. He believes that that's a medical procedure.
Wow.
And that they were cutting and draining the ear on purpose in 1100 BC or whenever it was.
That's crazy because it makes sense if you, you don't really see slices like that.
Right.
Right.
Too much, and the way
I
it's
use mine
leaking
as a
and
weapon
bleeding.
now. Like when I'm grappling, I like grind it into someone's head and pull the other side because it's as hard as a rock, like you said.
Yeah, look at that picture of the guy when you scroll down. Look
That's
at
on my
his hands
website.
wrapped
I
up.
blogged about that a couple of years
Oh,
ago.
really?
It is on
Yeah,
our website.
that's the UG.
Wow, that's crazy.
One of my favorite cauliflower ear stories is I shot a Boxing from MMA DVD with Joe Lozon and his brother Danny and their boxing trainer. And Danny comes in late, and he's like, I can't shoot this. Look at my ear. And his ear was all huge. And Joe's like, oh, I can fix this. So they get a needle, and they go in the bathroom, and Joe jams a needle in, and Danny starts screaming, and they're basically in a fist fight with each other with a needle through the ear. And somebody looks in, and he goes, dude, that needle is going all the way through the ear. So the needle didn't stop in the middle to drain the fluid out. It had skewered all the way through Danny's ear, and the two of them are wrestling around with each other and screaming
That's on
at each
video
other.
somewhere.
It is on video
yeah,
somewhere.
we have it on video.
Well, there's another example of two brothers who beat the fuck out of each other,
Oh,
and they
my
both
God.
became very tough.
There's
You
a
ever-
bunch.
You ever see the video of them fighting on the front lawn of their
Yeah.
house? Oh, and they were fighting. It was like
Headbutts.
NHB, headbutts, and elbow.
But Joe used to always get the better of it, right?
Yeah, he was always the big brother. He started training first.
That's
but
the problem.
Danny's good, man. He just doesn't have that same like drive that Joe has, like the mental side. Danny is incredible. He's the guy that like leaves the gym for 4 months, comes in and beats up everybody. But he doesn't have that like whatever
stay
it
in
is.
shape.
To stay in shape, to stay motivated, to stay in the gym.
Is he still fighting? I know he fought in World Series
yeah,
fight
he's
recently.
fighting August 16th for a local show up down Rhode Island. So
Is he in shape? Does he train hard now?
Yeah, he's training now pretty well. We'll
With you
see.
guys?
Yeah, and he trained at a couple of
These
local
guys-
gyms.
There they are.
Yeah, this is like this is before the UFC, 2002 maybe.
Oh my God! Yeah, this is a
And
fight.
I think they fight twice because Joe wins and then Danny wants to fight again.
Oh my God! Look at this. Did he win by armbar here?
I think he does it. I don't remember it specifically now.
It's so crazy that these brothers just beat
And this
the
is
shit
like
out of
all
each other.
family on the front lawn watching,
That's
like
so
family and friends,
crazy.
and like the pig
And they're
pig roast.
fighting.
Yeah.
I mean, they are fucking fighting. Yeah, this is a tight ass triangle. Does he tap here?
Yeah, but then
Yeah,
I think
tapped.
he pushes him and they fight again.
There it is.
Biggie the ref. That's literally like a South Shore community family street. Like the neighbors are there, like the cousins are there.
Well, you guys had a pig
friends.
roast too, right?
Yeah, his parents for years had a pig roast every summer, so that's where we were. There's like 100 people there, and I don't know how it even started. It's just, hey, like fuck you,
looked at each
no,
other.
fuck you,
And then
it
they
was like,
put
let's fight.
shorts on and a cup and
Well,
gloves
I'll
and
tell
the
you-
whole deal.
I'll tell you a funny. Danny, since he was 18, has never worn jeans without sprawl shorts underneath them for his entire adult life. He's always ready to go.
So he just takes his pants off and can fight?
Yeah, he wears his pants loose. He's got big jeans. And
Have
he's
you
just ready
seen
to go.
these pants called they call them barbell shorts?
No.
Look, they're not shorts. Barbell jeans, barbell brand jeans. Look at it. I'm wearing them right now. These guys sent them to me. They're jeans, but they're stretchy.
Oh shit!
Dude, they're incredible.
I think I need.
It
some
really
of
is
those.
stretch.
Look at this.
Jesus.
They don't hold you back at all. They don't bind up at all. Like you could throw full power kicks at these things.
Can you work out in it? Can you
Yeah,
squat?
yeah, you could do anything. You could, look,
Jesus.
there's no worry about the way your legs
I'm
move.
gonna have to Google those things.
It's like having
Fix 'em
it's
up.
like having tights on. I
Barbell
don't-
jeans?
Yeah,
Like
I have no. They're called. Yeah, this is a company. I have no affiliation with them. They just sent me a pair of these, and I fucking love them. They're amazing. They make shorts now too. So they have the MMA shorts have the same material, but the jeans look and feel like jeans, except in the way you move. There's just some sort of elastic quality to the pants. And this is a new company. I've bought some before from some other companies that make them like for hockey players and stuff because I don't fit in regular pants because I have a fucking troll body. I have a I wear 32, but I have to wear a belt. I really have a 30-inch waist, but I have big ass thighs, and so
Yeah, I'm
I
kinda
have to
about that
like a
way.
lot of times I wear 33-inch pants, straight leg, just so I can get them past my mid thigh. Because otherwise I can't. Like Levi's 501s are a joke. I can't even wear them. I literally can't get them on. Like they get to right here and they just lock up. But these barbell pants, they just fit like a glove. It's incredible. And look at that. Look at how they stretch. They snap.
We were talking about how technology improves things. This is embarrassing, but I remember in the 80s, I bought Chuck Norris kicking jeans.
I had those.
They had ties in the front and a pleated crotch, and the advertisement was the secret. It's in the crotch. Somehow I found that compelling.
And Chuck Norris always threw kicks with fucking cowboy boots on.
That's right.
He always had those cowboy boots on with the heel, the wooden heel. Look at him. There he is. There's the fucking
Yes. Awesome.
1995. That's what I paid.
Well, they had a gusset, and then there's another band. There's another brand called Diamond Gusset jeans, and I used to buy those a lot too. And that's what they were, was like a regular pair of jeans, but they put a gusset in a crotch so that you can move around better. But none of those can fuck.
Don't bind your legs.
Don't bind your legs. But none of those can fuck with the barbell jeans. Barbell jeans, they nailed it. They know what the fuck they're doing. But those tie in the front, that's bullshit. That's how those, they used to have those PK karate pants. I used to wear those with my Taekwondo gi. My Taekwondo, the dobok, I used to wear those different pants, the century pants that tied up in the front, because they kicked better. They were better. They were looser. They were looser on your body. They figured out a way to make them less binding. Like even Muay Thai shorts, man. A lot of Muay Thai shorts fucking bind on you. Like, I see a lot.
You see it in like Alan Belch used to fight. They'd be all rolled up, all like to his waist.
They pulled them up because Alan has those giant tree trunk legs. You know, and a lot of those pants, they bind out. Like Melvin Manhoef, he would wear like a gladiator skirt, you know, because his legs are huge.
I wonder if it is a Western body kind of a thing, because I've never really seen a Thai guy with huge thighs.
Yeah.
Maybe they're designed for more slight 145 to 105 pound Thai fighters.
Definitely. I mean, why would they design them for people that don't even wear them, in their world at least? But the thing about like guys who weightlift, if you lift weights and you develop that big ass fucking football player thighs or something like that, regular pants are just not going to fit you. I'm always amazed when I wear XL. I'm like, I'm fucking 5'8". What about a real XL person? What the hell do they wear? You know, how am I an XL? What the fuck does a guy like Big John wear, or Stefan Struve? I mean, how many X's is in his fucking clothes?
They must be custom made. I mean, how many guys are Stefan Struve? And Big John is 250 or something, 240. I mean, he's a big man.
He would love you if you said he was 250.
I heard don't talk about his weight though recently. Don't ask him about it.
Don't ask him? Well, if you go back to UFC 1 and you look at him then, you look at him now, things have changed. Something about the diet. Yeah, I don't think he's 240. I think he's quite a bit bigger than that. But point being, he's a real XL dude. That's a real. I'm not fucking XL. So why do they do that? Who the hell's small? Who the hell is wearing a small? That's not even. I mean, you have to be really.
I can't get in a small. What are you looking at?
It's bizarre. It's bizarre the sizing, you know, that people have. I think in the future we're gonna get all of our clothes from 3D printers. That's what I think.
Just printed to fit.
Yeah, I really do.
Yeah.
They're doing all kinds of crazy shit with 3D printers now. I think that's probably the future of pretty much everything.
Yeah, making firearms already.
Yeah, that's
and
the first thing they
firearms
did.
are something that gets subject to a lot more stress than clothing does. I mean, if you can make firearms, pretty soon they'll be able to make clothing on demand.
I think that's what you're going to get, like everything. If you want to buy a computer, what you're going to do is you're going to, you know, it's like buying a license for your computer from somewhere. You're going to get a license for it, and then you're just going to like, you know, like a one-click on Apple or something like that, and then you're just going to print up your computer. I really think that. I think you're just going to have like a printer, but that printer's going to have raw materials like metals and, you know, minerals or whatever you need for batteries or what have you, and you're just going to print it.
Have you invested in any of that?
No.
I mean, this is one of the most, you know, LA is one of the most creative areas in the world.
It's more Silicon Valley.
Oh.
You know, that's where all the computer stuff's going down.
You must have opportunities, though. People must approach you with all kinds of stuff. Because you're a forward-thinking guy.
I'm not investing in anything. I don't have time to do what I'm already doing. I'm trying to size down. I'm trying to do less shit. The last thing I want to do. Is this guy making a T-shirt here, Jamie? Yeah. Is that what this is? Look at this.
Oh, so they're already
they're already ready. Look, every time, this is my problem. Whenever I have an idea, they've already done it. There's a video online about it. Let me see the video.
It's just a GIF. It's not
That's
doing
it?
the full completion. Yeah, just
Oh. Okay.
It's probably building around that.
So what he does is he takes a pattern in there, locks it in place, and that's the printer, and then it just starts adding material to that pattern. Yeah. Wow. Makes sense, man. And then it makes a wife beater. You put it on, and you fucking go to the pizza place, order a slice. It's funny that they use wife beaters. Like, why did they decide to use a wife beater there?
Right? Is that your target market, the wife beater market?
Yeah, a lot of dudes who beat the shit out of their wives, they like to make their own shirts. It's just in the future, man. I think medical technology is the most fascinating thing as far as MMA, like about like healing people, like figuring out a way to fix brains, figuring out a way to people that have been injured, you know, people that have been KO'd. They're talking about you know, taking people that have been injured and directly putting them in like cryo chambers, and that the amount of damage that they can stop and the damage they can mitigate. And once they can figure out how to, right now there's no real technology to reverse brain damage. You know, like if you break your arm, they can fix it. You know, if you have a knee injury, they can fix your ligaments. If you have a brain injury, you're pretty fucked. You know, there's not a whole lot they can do. You know, they can help you try to heal yourself. There's a little bit of therapy they can do. There's a few new ways that they can kind of mitigate the issues. But for the most part, when you have a brain injury, you have a brain injury.
Yeah.
Put you in a helmet so you don't get worse.
They really don't know. I've got a friend of the family, girl I used to babysit, who had a terrible brain injury from that street luge sport. She banged the hell out of her head, and the doctor just said, don't go outside for 6 months and don't read any books for 6 months. And
don't read any books.
Don't do anything. Just cocoon your entire consciousness from the entire outside world. Sterilize the house. And after, like, I think 4 months, she said, you can get a baby chicken. Because, you know, don't spend a lot of time with people because that's an awful lot of thought. And even a cat would be too interactive. But she thought a little baby chick would be some human thing you could interact with a little bit. Low, low, low. But, you know, a top MD at Mass General Hospital saying buy a chicken to fix your brain indicates that the level of understanding is, as you said, very low. There's not much they can do.
Don't even talk to people.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
She had some family money and sort of cocooned herself away. And
how old was she when this happened?
Mid-40s.
Oh, my God. Mid-40s when it happened?
Yeah.
Whoa. So she was on a street luge, like a skateboard type thing,
yeah,
rolling down the hill.
I don't understand the
like
sport well, but
like they do with the X Games. It's like a bobsled on wheels, and they go down steep hills.
It makes you think about all those videos that you laugh at on Live Leak, where a guy gets fucking clipped on his ankles by a car and flips through the air and lands on his back.
I can't watch any of those.
How many people just get so fucked up by those things, and we never think about it again?
Yeah, or the guy's dead.
Yeah.
Like you see him on Tosh and those shows. They get like hit by a truck going across the highway. And you're like, ha ha ha. Like maybe that guy's dead or brain dead. Or...
Well, there was a guy in L.A. California, Southern California, that got in trouble recently because they were drifting, and he drifted into a bystander, clipped him. There's a video of it. See if you can find it on Joppo Link. Drifter hits pedestrian and took off. I don't know what the story is, but they were all trying to find this guy, and it was a total hit and run. He clipped this guy with the side of his car as he was going sideways, and you would think you would like fall, like got knocked back or something. No, you flip through the fucking air like you weigh nothing. You flip through the air like one of those little paper footballs. Think, you know when you do those things.
Play in grade school.
Yeah, you remember those? That's what it looks like when this guy gets clipped sideways by his ankles and goes hurling through the air. It's terrifying. And now that my exposure to people getting hit in the head is so much more than the average person's. I don't think this is it, but it's one of them. Here's one. Oh, no, that's different. That guy got hit head on. That guy broke his legs. This one, he got hit with the back, and he goes hurling through the air. But point being, I can't look at those anymore and not think about the consequences. I know there's a woman who fights in the UFC that not even her last fight, but the fight before that, fucked her up so much that to this day she's got all these hormone problems. Her cortisol levels are too high. She gains weight and she doesn't know why. She gets depressed. She doesn't know why. Her equilibrium's all fucked up. And it's not even from her last fight. It's from the fight before her last fight.
Jeez.
Yeah, and we don't think about it because we watch those fights. What a war. Wow, those girls really fucking put it out there. You move on with your life, and the lights go off. You know, the spotlights are down, and she's by herself. Her fucking head is going... The throbbing and the pain and the aches. I'm sure both of you have experienced that before.
Wow, every day of the week pretty much at my gym. I'm like the punching bag at my gym because I'm just...
Here it is. There it is. That's the one. Watch this. Watch this. He goes sideways. Watch this guy.
Oh.
See how the guy flies through the air? Look at this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, it's crazy, right? Bing. Yeah, I don't want to watch that again.
Ugh.
But don't go to the street while people are drifting.
Right.
Cocky
and
bitch.
Don't watch the street while they're doing it.
Yeah, I don't know if they caught that guy. Find out if they caught that guy. But the damage that these guys receive on a daily basis, like we were talking about the Rory McDonald fight, or like a lot of these fights, you watch it and you don't think about it. You just go on with your life. But every now and then you'll run into one of those guys years later that doesn't fight anymore, and you're like, whatever happened to that guy? And then you'll see him somewhere and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And you'll talk to him, you'll hear him slurring their words. I remember the first time I was training in Boston, and my boxing coach was this guy Joe Lake, who wound up training Dana Rosenblatt. Remember Dana Rosenblatt?
Dangerous.
Yeah, dangerous Dana Rosenblatt, who was a training partner of mine. He was one of the guys that convinced me to stop fighting, because I realized like I wasn't training the way he was training, because I was trying to do comedy and all these different things at the same time, but I was still fighting. And then I wasn't realizing how much dedication I had let slip by until I watched him train. I trained with him, and I realized, okay, I need to get out of here. And I was only 21 at the time. He was like 17 or 18. I think he was 18. But we trained at this gym with a bunch of like really tough guys. And Joe Lake, who was my boxing coach, was that prototypical South Boston boxing trainer. It was fucking wars. It was wars in the gym every day. There was wars. There wasn't no pity pat bullshit. You were going to war. And I watched a few guys that I knew from a few years back come in the gym, and they would just slur and start talking funny. I was like, holy shit, I'm looking at fucking brain damage. Like, I'm looking at it, and here's a guy that I knew 5 years ago, and he didn't have it. And now I'm talking to him. I haven't seen him in a while, and he's got it. And it started to sink in. Like, these headaches that I'm getting from these training sessions, like, this isn't free. This ain't free. I'm not immune. You know, like, when you watch Joe Frazier talk on TV, where do you think that came from? It came from getting punched in the head. There's no way around it.
The
not good
thing
for you.
about it that I find that haunts me, and yeah, I'll be honest, it haunts me in because it may start happening in our sport, is CT sometimes doesn't manifest itself until 5 or even 10 years after retirement. The guy's fine, could be a commentator on TV. Everything in his brain is working well, and then 5 years kicks in, 6 years, and all of a sudden he starts getting a little more aggressive, and his gait isn't as good, and he becomes a different person, and his soul starts to piss away, and that's scary. If that starts to happen, it'll give me pause for
That doesn't
thought.
scare you, Chris? You're just staring at the table, thinking about your brain.
I don't know. I've never been really hit hard enough, I guess. My head's gigantic. I've never
That
been hit
doesn't mean
hard enough.
anything.
What?
So is Gary Goodrich.
You
He's
know
a
guys
gigantic kid, too.
guys in your gym though that have
Punchy?
Yeah.
Oh, I know guys that have fought like twice in their whole career, and already like they just, that one fight did them in, and they should never fight again because they're just punchy.
Well, you remember Julio Cesar Chavez and Meldrick Taylor?
yeah.
They fought one time, and Meldrick was never the same again.
Know who's
Chavez beat him into a different person.
know who also is like that is Sean Gannon. When he fought Kimbo for a half hour, he was never the same from that day on.
That fight was fucking crazy, and that was an underground exclusive because everybody talked about that on the UG. That was a
I set
live
that
streaming
up.
fight. You set that up?
I set that up, yeah.
That was after Kimbo had become this internet celebrity. What year was that?
2002? Was I?
No, later than 2002, 5-ish.
Yeah, because I had
sounds
to.
right.
I drove home from college to get to that fight, so it would have been 2002 to 2004. Yeah, I was in college in Boston still, so someone was like, "Dude, Kimbo vs. Gannon's going down in that hour. You got to get down here." I'm like,
Well, Kenny Florian posted about it on the UG.
it still pops up. Like,
Does
every
Kenny
now and
still
then.
post, or is he done?
He's back.
He's
recently.
back.
Yeah, he
He's
came back
back.
like a week ago.
Well, he hasn't fought in a while. His feelings won't get hurt as bad.
Right.
They talk a lot of shit on his commentary, though.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
He's an excellent commentator.
He's very good, but it doesn't matter. People are cunts.
Yeah. They talk shit on everyone who's good at their job, but
They don't give a fuck. The people that don't give a fuck, they're just looking to be mad at anybody but their mom or whoever's fucking yelling at them at work or what, whatever your issue is. You're taking it out on Kenny Florian, but really you're mad that you live in your mother's basement.
Right.
And that's the reality.
That's the reality. 100%.
There's a certain amount of people that are just getting fined, people mad at anything. But Kenny, I think, was posting about it on the UG, and
Sure.
that's how I found out about about it because I knew about Sean. I knew Sean Gannon from the fight world, and I knew about Kimbo, obviously, from these YouTube videos, and I couldn't believe that they had actually organized a fucking real fist fight. And it went down. Jamie, pull that video up because that's a fucking goddamn crazy video. Oh. That was the first time Kimbo fought someone who actually knew how to fight. And, you know, he became this internet celebrity by just lighting these idiots up in backyards and move away from the satellite dish. And, you know,
look out for that metal thing.
That's the guy where everyone thought his eyeball came out of his eye, too, or something.
He beat the fuck out of some people. And he showed some good hands, showed some good skills. But then he fought Sean Gannon. And Sean Gannon, first of all, he was in shape.
Yeah,
you know?
he was in shape.
And he had an iron chin, and he's a cop.
And he's got an iron heart, too.
Yeah, and he was a boxer. Golden gloves, at least, which just isn't his, you know, it's not everything, but he was a boxer, but for sure. He was in, like, the South Boston gyms forever, like, training. He was a good fighter.
They both came out of that wrecked. And the funny thing is they came up with a bunch of crazy rules in this fight, like, as it was going down.
There was a 30 count. Mike Littlefield still has the rules written down. He has them, and it's got blood on it.
It's crazy because Kimbo tagged him with a bunch of punches, but they weren't taking him out. And after a while, Gannon started hitting the body, and we started working like this combination. I mean, he's tagging Kimbo, and Kimbo's hanging in there, and then Kimbo shoots.
That was illegal.
That was the first rule break of the entire fight.
But Gannon is getting a stand-in guillotine, and he's holding on to him in a choke, and then all these.
That was legal according to the rules. The standing guillotine was legal.
I think that's his brother. He had the alligator jacket and alligator suitcase.
The guy's touching them while they're fighting, yelling at them. And he's saying, let go, and he's trying to pry him away. And then they're prying him away. He's like, this crazy. Like, what are the fucking rules?
I was very convinced I was going to get shot that night.
No, all of Kimbo's guys had been disarmed.
Yeah.
Well, they were cops, you know, and then Kimbo got him down, and Kimbo was trying to ground and pound him.
Which was against the rules.
Illegal. Which was against the rules. So Kimbo tried to ground and pound him, but Gannon got back up to his feet and just hard. You know, you just couldn't wear Gannon out that easy. He was a guy who was used to brawling, too. He had been in the deep water before and figured out a way to swim, you know, and Kimbo, I don't think, had really been in deep water. This was like a first time.
Hood fights for like a minute and a half long.
Now you're looking at Kimbo is already exhausted, and Gannon is just starting to beat the fuck out of him. And now, you know, Kimbo is the punches are coming real labored. He's trying to push Gannon off the fucking wall.
Were you there when we built that wall?
No.
We had to show up early and build that wall because they didn't have one there for this fight.
That's funny. It didn't last long either. This is a crazy fight that's available online. You can watch it. But I remember it was a bunch of us were live watching this and commenting on the Underground while it was happening. I was reading the thread and watching the fight. I was like, this is crazy. You know, we're all trying to figure out what was going to happen, and they showed Sean's face at the end of it, and that's when it really hit home, because you're watching this all blurry, grainy, really shitty fucking webcam video looking, but you see the end. If you see the end of the video, they get a close-up of Sean's face, and he looks like the Elephant Man.
Yeah, we have all that old footage.
We own that footage. Yeah, we own the copyright.
How good is the footage?
I think it's better than the webcam stuff, because they had like at least like camcorders back then. And
look at his face. Like when they're doing a 30 count and Kimbo's down, they gave him a 30 count, and then eventually Kimbo just could not get up. But look at his face.
And the first two times, his friends just picked him up and made him keep fighting. He never got up from his own free will.
Yeah. But Sean just, look, he got up again.
Yeah.
He got up again.
Yep.
Look, he's like, he's up, and Sean punched him again. Like after that, it's so crazy.
I remember
someone easily could have died in that fight.
Yeah. We part of the rules were the winners got the footage. So like, there were like 6 guys with cameras, and so like Icy Mike and those guys, they all had their own cameras, and Sean won, and we're like, hand over the tapes. So there's all this. We figure they just taped the fights, but there's all this footage of them driving up, like
flying
going to the hotel, and
flying in the jet,
going to the hotel, and like, you know, we're gonna kill this. I probably can't use their language here.
Yeah, you can.
All right, you know, look, come on, nigga, let's kill this guy. We're going. Like, and they're in like Rhode Island, and like the bad part of Rhode Island, It's hilarious, and I think I
Look
still
at his
have it
face
somewhere.
there. Fuck.
I think it's still on that old computer I have in my basement somewhere.
So Sean before this fight, and then Sean after the fight. What was the difference?
Totally different. He was I don't think he was ever like super smart, but he was a coherent, smart guy. And I remember seeing him like a month later, and I was like, this guy has brain damage. Like he's like not right anymore. Just like had like this weird look to his face all the time.
Did he get fired from that fight?
No,
because of that fight.
He did get disciplined bad. He's
But
still
why?
a cop now.
Why did he get
Because
disciplined?
that picture was on the front page of the Herald, so it was
saying
it was
cop
a
on the
big deal.
beat. It was just sort
I
of they
remember
considered
that.
it a bad publicity thing.
Look at
the,
that picture.
The police union got behind him, and he stayed on the force.
Well, it's just sparring.
It's what it was. It's what it was. It was a sparring
I
match.
think he's still on the force today.
I haven't talked to him in about 6 months, but we didn't talk about work last time I saw him.
Scroll up to that picture of the dude's eye right below that. Look at that. That's the dude that Kimbo fought. What the fuck is going on with his eye?
His eyeball is out. It's not in the right place.
Is that what it is, or
I
is it
don't
just
know.
swelling? I don't know what that is. That might not even be real. That might be Photoshop. But it certainly looks like his eyeball's missing. And the way Kimbo was built back then too, it's just he was built so much different than he is now. Like, look at that picture right there, the Elite XC picture right below it, where he's got his arms up in the air, Jamie. Click on that. Like, he was swole.
Yeah.
And you see him now when he fought Ken Shamrock the other day. It just didn't look the same. He just looks like a completely different guy. That's the old Ken Shamrock one from the one Ken backed out of, and then he wound up fighting Seth Petrozelli. Yeah, that's the old one,
That's
I'm
the
pretty
old one.
sure, because Ken looks younger there, too. Ken already looks fairly old there, but Ken backed out of the fight like last minute, and then he fought Seth Petrozelli. And I knew that that was deep water for him. I was like, yeah, this is not you can't fight that guy. But look how good Ken looked there for a guy who's 51. That was a super disappointing fight, though.
I couldn't believe that.
Everybody thought that was a work,
think
but
so.
I do not at all. I'm
might
very
not have been.
confident it was.
I just think it was two
Age.
50-year-old guys fighting each other, and it's just not going to look like the best athletic competition.
I just couldn't believe that Ken couldn't finish that rear naked choke.
I thought that. Bring up a video of Ken from 20 years ago.
I know,
and-
he does the
and
same
He does the
style.
same thing. He cups like the top of the head. He doesn't come behind the neck. Like he does
Yeah.
the same style of choke. And 20 years ago, guys didn't know what to do, so they tap to it.
Yeah, there it is right there. You can see the picture of him with
Yeah.
Kimbo. But Kimbo's not even defending. I
Yeah.
mean, he's not even grabbing the fucking... I just couldn't imagine that Ken couldn't finish that. That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it might not be a work. I said it looked fake as fuck because it did kind of look fake as fuck. But one of the things that might have made it look fake as fuck because it was a 51-year-old man
Right.
who has fought combat sports for 20-plus years, and his body just is not capable anymore. I mean, anybody else, like Luke Rockhold gets your neck like that, good night,
It's
bitch.
over.
You're going to sleep. You know, it's just a fact. But just to see Ken not be able to finish a perfectly placed rear naked choke, hand on the bicep, you know, most anybody who's really good at jiu-jitsu is going to finish that. It just doesn't make any sense.
Or even not that great at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I mean, a purple belt, a good purple belt. But it's sad that a guy like Ken, you know, is in this position in his life when he's a legend in this sport. You know, you think about a guy like Arnold Palmer, he never has to fucking work again. You know, you look at a legend in baseball, those guys don't have to work.
Yeah, they never have to work again.
You look at a legend like Ken Shamrock, he just missed the fucking money.
Combat sports are all like that, though. I mean, look at Mike Tyson, made $300 million and doesn't have $300 million now.
But that's because he pissed it all away. Ken Shamrock didn't make $300 million.
Right.
True.
They weren't
you know?
paying guys $10 million a fight when Ken Shamrock was good.
No.
Like the guys like the GSP are making now. He didn't have that opportunity.
I wonder what the most anybody's ever made for an MMA fight is. I would like to. It would have to be in the UFC. I wonder
It'd
if,
have to be a cut of a pay-per-view in the
Yeah,
UFC.
for sure.
Probably $4 or $5 million for GSP.
I think
That'd be my
more
guess.
than that.
You think more than 5?
The rumor is that McGregor made $4 or $5 million, and
well, I'm sure he had a piece of the pay-per-view, and he
Right.
fucking deserved it. If
He
anybody
did.
deserved a piece of the pay-per-view, it's
Oh.
McGregor.
We were just talking about that in the car yesterday.
if he
Without
does-
him, that card would have done
400,000, 500,000 buys instead of $1 million.
You know what impressed me almost as much as his performance and the fight itself was the Irish people. I just couldn't believe. The fact, I mean, I said that like when I did the post-fight interview. I'm like, these people are incredible. It's humbling that they flew all the way over there from Ireland to watch their guy fight. There's not if you had a fucking American fight in Ireland, good luck getting 10 people
Yeah,
to get on a
right.
plane
They're
and
not
fly
his
over to America.
Brother, sister, and cousin.
It's just not the same. And somebody was like, "Yeah, it's because they don't have anything." So what? So what? It's you don't think it's impressive that they have so much patriotism and so much love for their countrymen that they planned way in advance. Those tickets sold out in the blink of an eye, and thousands of those 15,000 people, thousands, like 40% came from Europe.
And it's not like a rock concert where if it's a Stones concert, you know it's going to be a phenomenal concert. Half the people lose every fight, and they could have flown all that, spent all their money, and he might have lost. I mean,
Ricky Hatton when he fought Mayweather. Remember they were singing all those Ricky Hatton songs right before Mayweather put him to sleep? Here we go, Ricky Hatton.
Or the fight
Crank.
could have sucked.
Yeah, well, the fight
Could have been
right.
5 minutes of boring, sucky fight.
It could have been. It could have been. But they were willing to take the chance, and then they won. He won, and they won with them. I'm telling you, man, you never see celebration like that. I had to run from place to place just to keep him getting accosted by Irish people that try to drag you into drinking.
My brother was
with them.
out there, and he said it was awesome to see. Like, everywhere he walked, there were, like, crazy Irish guys. They were so pumped up and amped up.
And they were singing.
Yeah,
they were singing, and they would come. I was leaving for my flight at like 7:30 in the morning, and these guys were stumbling in, still singing. 7:30, fucked up, probably just getting home from the Spearmint Rhino, hammered. It was amazing. It's like it moved me because I had been there before when a lot of Brazilians had shown up to maybe to see Anderson fight or something along those lines. But the level of patriotism that the Irish had was on a completely different scale. It was another level, like several notches crazier.
That's why I mean, for me personally, my favorite shows are just the little amateur ones when I'm actually coaching or somebody that I've helped train or something. Because if you do, the more of a connection you have with a person, the deeper the fight becomes. And I think with those Irishmen, they're so tight as a nation that when he's in there, they feel like they're right in there with him. And that must make the experience
It's also makes you more nervous, too. I hate watching guys that I
Look at
like
that photo.
fight. That's
Jesus
incredible.
fucking Christ, that's a crazy photo. Look at that shit.
11,000 people were at the weigh-in.
Right,
That's
to watch guys
insane.
take off their clothes and stand in their underwear.
It's insane. And the roars that those people were cheering, screaming when he got on that scale. There's nothing like it. There's no one like him. I mean, Ronda Rousey is the other biggest star in MMA at this point. You know, everybody talks about who's the biggest star in MMA. I love Ronda Rousey. I think she's a one of a kind. I don't think there's anybody that's ever been like her. I think she's spectacular. But she does not have nearly the appeal this motherfucker does. It's not even close.
How many Americans are flying to Brazil to watch her fight next week?
Me?
Joe.
I'm kidding. It's my job. But I am very, very, very curious. I'm going not just because it's my job, but I'm very curious to see how they're going to treat her in Brazil. Whether or not, you know, this Betch Correia chick has that kind of love and respect, whether they think she has a chance, what kind of crowd's going to show up, what is it going to be like if Ronda beats her, when Ronda beats her, should I say?
Yeah, when,
if
right?
Ronda, I mean, anything can happen.
Anything can happen. That I learned that in the late 90s, or could have been, it was the late 90s. Pat Miletich fought Dan Severn. And I got the tape afterwards from Monty, who'd promoted it, and they're doing the pre-fight interview, and they say, Pat, what do you think's going to happen? And Pat goes, I don't know what's going to happen. That's why we're having the fight. And he was fighting a guy who was 100 pounds heavier than him, and I think it ended up being a draw, but because nobody tapped anybody. But Pat really did win that fight, and ever since then, I've been like, you don't know what's going to happen. That's why you have the fight. I mean.
Yeah, fights are crazy. You throw bones at people, you zig when you should have zagged, and boom.
Pretty sure we were all thinking when Anderson Silva beats Chris Weidman, what's next?
I didn't think that.
No?
No.
Really?
No, I didn't think that.
I did.
I did not think that. No. I was saying, I mean, I wasn't lying when I did that pre-fight thing. I'm like, this guy's different. He's a special kind of a destroyer. You know, there's something about Weidman. He's so fucking strong.
What is that something? Because the three of us were talking about it in the car yesterday. What is it with Weidman?
Some guys have it, some guys don't. You know, it's like, what is it that makes a guy that fucking good? I don't know what it is. There's intangible qualities that some people possess.
And he was born that way? He's born with it?
Well, it's all of the above what we talked about. His dad was a football player. His fucking brother beat the shit out of him. All that stuff, I'm sure, has an effect on his mental state and his resolve. He has unflappable will, unflappable resolve. Like, he's just got this iron will, and you just sense it when you look at him. You sense it when you see him fight. And, like, you got to beat that fucking guy. He's not beating himself, and he's skillful. He's very good, very well prepared, tough as shit, can knock guys out. Can knock guys out with their hands. You ever see him fight Uriah Hall in Ring of Fire?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he caught Uriah Hall with his long left hook, boom, and put him away standing. I mean, he puts guys away standing, puts Mark Munoz away with that fucking brutal elbow. Ugh. He's no joke, man. He's an animal. You know, and now as a middleweight champion, what's fascinating right now is now that he's past Vitor, which was his sort of a mandatory fight, there are so many good fights there. There's Jacare, Yoel Romero, Luke Rockhold. Fuck, man. There's...
It's a murderer's row lining up for him.
God, you know? I mean, and the way Rockhold beat down Machida, like, fuck. And then the way Romero did the same goddamn thing. He beat him down, too. It's like the contenders are rising to the top. They're clearly being established. And Jacare, I mean, you want to talk about world-class jiu-jitsu. That guy's insane. He's insane. He's so fucking good and so strong.
It's the 205 division, I felt like, with 5 years ago or 4 years ago or something, was kind of like that. You had John Jones on top, and everybody else in the top 10 was a killer, but it's definitely 185 right now.
205 is actually pretty weak right now, that division, right?
Well, you know, Jones...
Relatively.
Hopefully Jones comes back eventually, gets his life in order, and comes back. That situation is so sad. And you're not hearing anything from John. You know, I'm sure he's got all sorts of legal problems.
Which is
and
good.
issues.
He should stay out of the media and just take care of his shit right now, which he needs to do.
Stay, you know, clear his mind and his life, and make restitution and do whatever he's got to do, and hopefully he'll be back again. But you want to talk about talent?
Hopefully, man. I want to see him back. Like, get his shit together and come back and just be on top again. Because that guy was incredibly talented.
Mm-hmm.
I watched all his fights because he grew up fighting in Massachusetts because New York, they couldn't fight. Mm-hmm. So all his fights were in Massachusetts. And I saw that kid fight like 3 times. Like, this kid's got it. Like, this kid's going somewhere. He fought 6 times in 3 months.
Did he
got
really
to the
fight
UFC.
that many times?
3 months. 6 times. 3 weekends in a row once.
Really?
And then took a last-minute fight in the UFC.
Wow.
Yeah, it was incredible.
My first experience was I was cornering somebody at a show in Massachusetts, and Chris, I think my guy lost. I'm just kind of sitting there, arm around him, giving him water, whatever, and Chris goes, "There's this new guy, and he has to fight, and it's only been 5 seconds. You can't, come here." And so he grabs me, and we go running up to the cage, and it was over. The fight had ended in 19 seconds, and I know the guy he fought, and the guy he fought is like tough, and got crushed by him, and Chris just said, "This guy is going to be he's going to be the next one."
Wow. That's amazing.
He's a murderer. I'm so lucky he never fought Tom. He was supposed to fight Tom Lawler for the, like, local title.
Really?
Yeah, because Tom Lawler fought in Mass. He's a Massachusetts guy originally. And they're supposed to fight for the title. I had set it all up for Tom. And I'm like, oh, he looks good, but Tom, you can fight him. And like a week later, the UFC called John Jones, and I'm like, thank God that fight never happened. Or Tom might have never had a UFC carear. I mean, not to say he would have lost for sure, but it was a tough fight to take. You know, in
Let's just say it. He would have lost for sure. What are you doing? What are you lying to people? I mean, anything can happen.
Anything can happen in the fight, and Tom hits hard. So
yes,
I mean,
he does.
Most people thought he was going to lose this fight last weekend.
It was a tough fight for him for sure.
He was getting beat up, and he had taken 27 months off. Ring rust is real.
Why did he take so much time off?
So I cornered him. This is funny. I cornered him in the Michael Kuiper fight in Sweden,
Mm-hmm.
and we walk in after the first round, and he looks at this. He's like, "I think I blew my fucking knee," and I'm just like, "What do you mean you blew?" And I blew my knee, and so the other corner, his jiu-jitsu coach is like, "You should sit down." He's like, "I can't. I won't be able to get back up."
Whoa.
And we're like, all right. He's like, what should I do? Should we not fight? I'm like, do you want to fight? He's like, yeah. So go out there and stand up. And he guillotines the guy in the second round, chokes him unconscious. And he tore his ACL, completely blew his ACL.
Wow.
And so he recovered for like a year and then blew his meniscus in the same knee. And so then another 6-month recovery, and just then he had to book a fight and get back in shape. It's just injury after injury in the same knee.
What do guys do? I've always wondered. What does a guy like Tom Lawler, who doesn't make that much money, what do they do for money when that happens?
Well, Tom's made some good money in the UFC that he could sit on, and Tom's filthy. He doesn't like need nice things. If you've ever so he won a bonus at UFC 100, which was $100,000.
Oh, okay.
And he went and bought a condo in Providence, which wasn't expensive. Like bought it straight out. And
In
it was-
Rhode Island?
Yeah, he's from that area, like
Does he live
Swansea,
there?
Somerset. No, he did. He lived there for years because he used to. That's where he grew up, like Swansea, Somerset area.
Mm-hmm.
And he liked Rhode Island because everything's a small city, everything's close. He lived in the nastiest condo you've ever been in. It was like cat piss everywhere, and like just like smell the everything. It was terrible. But he doesn't need all the money. So for him, like $100,000 is like 5 years of living because he doesn't need nice amenities, nice things, and he just teach jiu-jitsu here and there and do seminars. And I don't think he's worked a regular job since before fighting. He was like a high school history teacher for a while, and then just got into fighting, and that's it.
Wow.
He just figured out a way to survive on not having a lot.
It's a hard world out there for guys who are like the lower level guys that are trying to make it. It's a very, very hard world. It's very, very difficult for those guys to make enough money to actually get by.
It's terrible. I have a guy that fights in the UFC now that went back to having a real job full time. Still fights, but has a job. He's a corrections officer.
Who's that?
Joe Proctor.
He has a full-time job now?
He's 6 fights into his UFC career and has a full-time job watching inmates at Plymouth County.
That's crazy.
Because
That's
he
a
used to-
suck job, too, by the way.
He
I had
doesn't-
a training partner that did
Yeah.
that. He would have horror fucking stories about people throwing shit on him. And
Oh yeah, they do that. They throw shit at you.
There was a guy I used to help out from Massachusetts. He was actually from Connecticut, and he was a good fighter. I think he probably had UFC potential, and then he decided the future's not for me. And so he told me, I got sort of bad news. I'm going to go to law school instead of fighting. I was like, hallelujah, that's awesome.
what do you do when a guy's going through your gym and he wants to fight and he's got no shot? Do you just say, look, you got to figure this out for yourself? Like if you got a guy who's uncoordinated and is, not tough, but for whatever reason decides to fight.
Tell him it's not for them.
You tell him.
Yeah.
I straight up tell him you can't fight from here. I said there's unscrupulous promoters that are looking for sharks versus fish. I explained the whole deal to him at how the sport works at the low level. There's big ticket sellers. They're going to sell 200 tickets at $50 each, $35 each, and the promoter is always looking for some fish to feed to the sharks, so that the guy will have 200 friends show up and win, and the next time what are they going to say? You can get a fight. Like there's a million unscrupulous promoters in this state that will give you a fight, but it's not good for you. It's a dangerous sport, so you can't fight out of here. And sometimes they keep going, but not usually. Because it's not the type of sport where you can be nice to people. It's too important. If you tell a girl she's pretty and she's not or something, there's no bad consequences. But if you let somebody think they have a chance at fighting and really they're not very good, they can get a scrambled brain. So
a lot of people don't do that, man. A lot of people just let them figure it out for themselves.
Yeah, I see it in other gyms. Our gym, if we don't think you're ready to fight, you don't fight. And the guys will leave. They'll go to the Taekwondo school that lets them fight MMA with no experience, and then you just see them get killed because they're just not prepared. Guys that come to our gym don't fight for years. Even amateurs, they come in and they learn everything. They learn how to wrestle, jiu-jitsu, kickbox, and then maybe if you think they're ready, you take a fight.
What's your gym so people who listen?
Lozon MMA back in Massachusetts.
Lauzon, right?
Yes.
Lozon MMA. We got to wrap this up. Anything else you want to say? Mixedmartialarts.com, the website.
Fuck the OG.
Fuck the OG? I thought it was...
Fuck the UG. I got
Fuck
that
the
side.
UG?
Fuck them both.
Okay. Well, you got... Seriously,
That's
though,
like the
best mixed martial arts website in the world. You guys are always on top of the news. You always misspell people's names. It's great. You
Every
misquote
day.
me almost every time.
every day.
But it's like as far... I still post all the fucking time. I'm one of the last of the Mohicans. I'm still in there getting shit on, called a fag, and whatever they want to call me. Dick Rider. No matter what, you're going to get shit on. But I think overall, I look at it the opposite way. I'm a optimist. I think it's like 10% douchebags, 90% cool people.
Maybe.
But either way, you guys have fucking made it through the storm that was the beginning of MMA, and I think this website was an integral part of keeping the core fan base alive. So, Kirik, thank you very much for everything that you've done. I really, really appreciate it. It gave me a place to waste a lot of fucking time and talk a lot of shit about all kinds of different fights and read a lot of cool information and news. And whenever anybody's hurt or breaking news, I always find out about it on the underground.
Imagine if you tracked the hours you spent on, like, how much would that be of your life?
Well, I was one of the
Too
first
much.
400, so shit. It would be a lot.
15, 17 years, a couple hours a day, maybe.
A lot of goddamn wasted time. But thank you.
I don't want to be an ass kiss, but I will be. As I've told these guys before, when there's a UFC that you're not on, to me, and again, I don't want to sound like an ass kiss, but it's just what I've said, not in front of you, but to these guys previously. It doesn't feel like a UFC without you there. The weigh-ins it's just not the same. So thanks to you for making the UFC for me.
Well, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. All right, mixedmartialarts.com. Go check it out. And love the UG. Love the OG. Take it easy, everybody.
Cheers.